and welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle, and we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners, and we got Tyrion 9 on deck. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Never had a bad day in my life.
Oh, God. This again? Like, already?
Wow, you stole that from me.
All right, the chapter. It is an awesome chapter.
You got a good one, right?
It's a long chapter. It's a dense one. It's a good one, though. What's the synopsis, Colin? What do you think of it?
I mean, it was a long one, but it felt good, right? Like, it wasn't when will this end kind of chapter. So, I mean, the short of it is Tyrion's trial begins.
Yep,
it's really
exactly.
the synopsis. It's a lot of that, but as we kind of hinted at, I think we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, the reason I say dense is because it's one of those chapters that I love because it like references. You have people like all the time referencing scenes from other chapters, right? So I went back and I got like a paragraph from like Tyrion this Clash of Kings. There's like 7 different Tyrion chapters from Clash of Kings that are referenced.
I was for sure wondering about a couple things. Like he talks about people have a habit of getting eaten by bears or whatever. Like, and I'm like, well, wait, what does he know about bears and stuff like stuff like that. But anyway,
yeah,
we'll get to it.
Yep. So it starts off. Tyrion's in jail.
Wow, fuck me.
My bad. You want to go? Go ahead.
Nope, you got it.
Yeah, starts off Tyrion's in jail.
All right, so it starts off with Tyrion in jail with his uncle Kevin, and they're trying to like find, who are your witnesses going to be? Just kind of going over like, hey, we're getting close to trial here. Are you prepared? And Tyrion's like, fuck no, I've been in jail. What do you expect? I haven't even had proper counsel. He's
pretty upfront at the beginning, even where he's like, "You're fucked, bud." Like she's gathering everybody. Even I'm not sure, like what I believe right now. Like I'm just here because your dad wanted me to be.
Yep. Some of the stuff we heard in the previous chapter. There's 3 judges. Tywin didn't think it was good that it was just like an all family in the family trial, so they wanted to get some outsiders involved. So we got Mace and Oberyn, and Tyrion's like, well, that's not great because Mace was like father-in-law, like technically just became father-in-law, but still like he's related to
the good father was the term that they used.
Good father. He's related basically to the victim, so he isn't. He's not biased, right? He wouldn't be selected for jury in today's day and age.
No, you're out.
And
sorry.
Yep, I was just gonna say. And the next thing, Tyrion's like, okay, so what about the trial by battle route? It's worked for me before. Like, what about that? What do you think about that, Kevin? And he's like, you got an uphill battle with that one.
I wouldn't go there if I were
up mountain battle.
Yeah, up mountain battle, exactly, because that's who Cersei has picked.
Yep, and she's getting more and more witnesses as the days go by. So Tyrion's like, well, fuck, like, how am I supposed to get mine? I can't even leave this place. And he's like, hey, well, I'll get them for you. And he's like, all right, start by finding my wife, please.
Well, yeah, it's like, all I need is a list of names, and I'll get anybody you want. And he's like, well, fuck, what are these names going to be?
I think he literally goes like a day or 2 before he even comes up with Sansa. Yeah. I think part of it's because Sansa's not around, so it's not like a real. It's
like overnight, but yeah. Well, and it's like, she's not a great witness either.
But like, doesn't he call Pod and Bronn? Does he call Pod and Bronn before then?
No.
He
thinks that he needs to talk to Bronn about the trial by combat stuff. That's why.
Yeah. Before his uncle left, he was like, "Hey, by the way, I'm innocent." And he's like, I don't know if you are.
Yeah.
And then he does send for Pod. He does ask for Pod at that point.
He asked for Pod, but he doesn't come back for quite some time. Is more of what I was getting at, I guess. Is Pod and Bronn don't show back up?
Well, I think Pod comes pretty quick.
He doesn't come for a long time when he asks for Bronn. It's like 2 days after, I think, is when he actually comes back.
And Tyrion might have even had to ask again or something.
Yeah, he did. He did ask him again because he's like, have you seen him? And he's like, I already sent him here. And he's like, yeah, I told him to come back. And fucker didn't come back. But at the same time, he also said, don't come back without Bronn. And Bronn was probably like, yeah, I ain't fucking going back.
Yep.
Like, what do I need to go there for? As we find out when he shows up. But anyway, back to the note of witnesses. Yep. Yeah, he comes up with Sansa. Which is like, I mean, who he should pick, but at the same time, like, that's like an awful witness, right?
It just doesn't. It doesn't hold water, right? Because if anything, they're like Bonnie and Clyde. Is that
in cahoots?
You guys did that shit together.
Yeah.
Well, hold on, because the next thing Tyrion starts thinking is like he's thinking like, who actually did this? Like, could Sansa have?
Could she have done it? Could she have done it on her? And could she have done it on her own? If like,
yeah, I don't. So I think he's thinking about who could have done it. He's like, could it have been Sansa? He's like, well, the cup was in front of her. She had plenty of motive, and she's missing now. So, I mean, that the last one's not evidence, but it doesn't look good, right? So, but then when he starts thinking of like a Bonnie and Clyde, like, are we tied to this? He's thinking like, oh, it'll look like that. But does he actually think like, could anybody else have helped her? Right? I don't think he ever like lingers on that, right?
Yes,
yeah.
And yet, where would Sansa have gotten poison? He could not believe the girl had acted alone in this. Do I really?
And that's pretty much where he ends up on is like, well, they're gonna think I'm the one that fucking helped her. Like,
yeah,
and,
exactly.
And then as the trial comes out, he is the one that stole the poison or whatever.
He is actively stealing poison.
Yeah. So like, I mean, he definitely like. It's a lot of public perception, and this is like before DNA testing and all, and chemical testing and all that. So I mean, it's really just you need to have solid like evidence-based witnesses, really, and or just enough enough people to overwhelm, and that's kind of what Cersei does.
Sure. In terms of the thing that I was talking about with the whole like he doesn't think about like who could Sansa have been involved with. Jeff was right. Like he does kind of think about it, but again, like it makes sense. He's thinking about like I'm on trial. How does this affect me? Fuck, this kind of implicates me. What I'm saying is I kind of wish he would have gone down the okay, but who could have actually helped Sansa and like thought about that a little more, right? Like we saw kind of like the outcome in the last Sansa chapter. But like
the crazy thing though is like while she did have the hairnet on, like she still didn't do shit, right? Like not that we've seen at least.
Exactly. I think there's a lot of mystery still to exactly what happened here, which is why this trial is interesting, right? I think there's a lot of points to why I really like this chapter for a lot of different angles. One is like people actually honestly think about like what could have happened. In a lot of like we don't know exactly what happened in the moment. So,
all right. So, and he's like, yeah, Cersei's going to think that I was in it anyway, even if Sansa did it. So Kevin comes back. He's surprised that he only has one name, and he's like, well, you're definitely fucked now because trial starts in 3 days, so get to work.
And we don't even know where she is.
Yeah.
She's fucking gone.
Another weird thing, Varys is offering rewards. Right? And again,
for Sansa.
This is a super nerd thing that I don't think most people would ever pay attention to. But the rewards seem weird to me. 100 stags for news, okay. 100 gold for Sansa herself. To me, that seems incredibly low.
100 dragons?
I think Brienne's ransom was like 500 gold. I think Jaime's ransom was like 10,000 gold. I get she isn't like the family member, so maybe 10,000 isn't it, but like this is a percent. You know what I mean? This is literally 1% of Jaime's worth.
Well, and they think she killed the king.
Exactly.
Like this, yeah, you're right. That's fair. I never really paid attention to the other ransoms in perspective to this one. So, and I also don't know what 100 gold even is.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's super nerd type of thing to think about.
Because like, what if 100 gold is like $4 million and 10,000 gold is
I'm just
like
thinking relative,
$7 billion. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, like, what if these still are crazy fucking numbers? I guess is what I'm getting at.
I guess Vargo Hoat turned down Brienne's ransom, which I think was 500. Okay. It might have been 300. Right, it's between the 300-500 range. Brienne's,
still more than Sansa, the one accused of killing.
Yeah, and Vargo Hoat, who's not a rich guy. Dragons, yeah. So, but if like Vargo Hoat's not a rich guy, he's just like a fucking sellsword. His whole thing is I like money, and if he's able to be like, nah. If he's saying no to that amount of money just to be like, fuck you, Brienne, I want to feed you to a bear.
Yeah.
That's literally what he did. I don't want that amount of money. Then this is nothing, right?
Yeah, but at that point, he kind of had he had a castle at that point, though.
Harrenhal.
He had Harrenhal, but I don't know. I don't think he knew it was a home for long or something. You know, I don't think
he wasn't. He unpacked his bags. I'll say that.
Well, Gregor unpacked his bags for him. Yeah, unpacked a little more than that, but
I mean, he did. It's like kind of like when you get so rich, like he paid 500 gold to watch her fight a bear. Really, right? Like
exactly.
That's essentially. So,
again,
anyway,
off topic, and it might be a George fuck up, but like it just seems like a low amount of money. Was that what I was getting at? Get back to it, Jeff.
Okay, so Kevin came back. He's like, "What the fuck, bro? Trial's starting." Yeah, I sent for Pod. Like he didn't come. He didn't come. He was like, yeah, he did, but I need him again. And he's like, okay, I'll go get him. So the day after, Bronn comes with Pod. Pod's like kind of sneak in, like ashamed, and Bronn is dressed to the nines.
What do you think of this scene, Jeff?
It's better. It has a better line in the show, and I think you agree with me.
I think it's good in the books, but again, I don't know why, because I feel like it's very similar. I don't know what line you're talking about.
They're missing one line. It's a question that Bronn poses to Tyrion.
If you don't think it's spoilery, we can get to it when we get to it. But
it's not. It's not spoiler. I don't think so.
So the quick gist is basically
it kind of goes on to like Tyrion's attitude towards Bronn as like, you're my sword at any call. Like I can, I call you, you fight for me, and that's our relationship. And Bronn kind of, his mentality has changed, which we see here in this conversation. So,
but to be fair, I think Bronn has it right in the book. I guess
it's not different at all. The line is actually Bronn's line that I think makes it a little bit better. It just makes you think a little bit.
So the way you made it sound was like he was betraying Tyrion, but I don't think he was ever Tyrion's to begin with. And sure. We're getting there. It's like 2 paragraphs away.
He's dressed real nice, and we find out that he's going to dinner at Castle Stokesworth, and he is to be wed by Lawless, which is Lady Tanda's
daughter.
A daughter. She's not the brightest bulb.
Dim-witted, I think, is what they say. Yeah. Dim-witted.
And she was raped in the riot, and she is with child.
I think 100 times. She was a lot.
That's not definitely what they say.
But I think
it sounds like it was a very awful day for her, at the very least.
Yeah, for sure. Lawless has been through it.
Yeah.
She was the one that's Shae was handmaiden to first, and she was just like crying nonstop. That's kind of what Shae was telling Tyrion, like, I hate being around her. She just like is so depressed and crying nonstop. So
yeah, rightfully so. Yeah,
that's who Bronn is engaged, betrothed to. That's the news.
And he's not mad about it, right?
He's fucking pumped about it, baby.
Right.
Yeah.
When we find out about kind of where he's rose to, it makes a lot of sense for him to like kind of like cash out his chips, like take my chips off the table. I'm good. And
I don't even know if he's doing that still. He's still making power plays here. He's like talking about killing the older sister so that it can be his castle and shit. Like, I mean, he's like the opposite of Davos, right? Like Davos is like, I don't deserve this. Like I rose through the ranks and this is not where a lowborn should be. Whereas Bronn's like, fuck yeah, like I'm plowing ahead and I'm not stopping until I'm king.
I get what you're saying in terms of like mentality. Like Davos definitely has some big time imposter syndrome where Bronn doesn't. But I was actually thinking before you said that, I was thinking the exact same thing. Like Bronn and Davos have kind of had like similar trajectories. Like pretty much, we don't know Bronn's history exactly, but like he was literally just some random guy who was in an inn with when Cersei decided to
he's just a sellsword that happened to be better at fighting than whatever knight that was in the Eyrie. I forget his name,
exactly. But Ser Vardis.
And like that was really his claim to fame, right? Like he started out as Catelyn's man.
I think he was just a guy. Well, yeah, you're right.
Well, he was he was paid for by Catelyn. He was just kind
of walking around and was like, yeah, okay, I'll follow you guys. He was at the inn, right? Is that what happened?
Yeah, exactly.
When she accused him, exactly. Yep. And then they became friends along the way. And then, the rest is history.
Yeah.
So the only reason Bronn really comes, I think, to the meeting is because at one point Tyrion was like, hey, if anyone tries to sell me out, I'll pay double. So he's here to hear the kind of, I guess, offer. And he's like, well, shit.
He wants to hear the double, right?
I can't double your castle. I can't double your wives. But there's a chance that if I'm innocent or if you win for me, we'll go back north and I can carve out a big piece of land. He's like, well, that's a whole lot of ifs.
Ifs, whens, and buts. That's what Tyrion gives.
Not just north, but like I am the heir to Winterfell right now. Just so that's said.
Yeah,
that's all the only reason I'm saying it.
Yeah. Again, I think if we go legal terms of Westeros, there's questions because of the consummation thing. Again, whether that's provable or not, we have the whole. I mean, I think this trial also kind of shows one of the things that like Jeff always says, like you never know like who's who. There's no ID. Like Tyrion's like, how am I supposed to prove that I'm innocent? We haven't really mentioned this either. Is it's not like proof that you're guilty. It's the opposite.
Well, and that's kind of what I was getting at with the no chemical testing, no cameras, nothing. That he's just got a room full of people that he has to overcome.
But it's not, but like unlike our trials where it's like you're innocent till proven guilty. This is guilty. Tyrion has to prove himself innocent. They're like Kevin keeps coming like, how are you going to prove yourself innocent, bro? And it's like Tyrion's like, well, let me out of here so I can do that. I think Tyrion. Again, kind of on the line I was already on, we won't linger on it.
What could he have done, though, honestly? Like, what could he have done? Let's linger on that.
I agreed, Jeff.
Well, we won't have to linger on it because we're already there. But to me, like, how do you prove that you didn't do it?
He can't.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
well, to me,
you got to find... You just need someone to admit that they actually did it. Like, you got to
find who did it. You got to have proof of who actually did it. So that, again, that's kind of why I'm like, he thinks Sansa did it. He should linger on the who helped her, because if he can go down that rabbit hole, get a thought in his mind, and prove it, that's it. To me, that's his only way out. there's no prove I'm innocent. There's only prove somebody else is guilty. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. It's like proof by counter positive or whatever the fuck it was called.
Contrapositive, yeah.
Contrapositive.
Some proof from college, exactly. Again,
what I was going to say is the part of his problem with that though is that she is still his wife, right?
That's an interesting point he gets to in the trial. Yeah.
Yeah, he feels like he owes her some loyalty still. So he's like, look, I'm not fighting Sir Gregor. Like, there's a chance I could win. Like, there's obviously a strategy. He's pulling the old Rocky 3 strategy. He's going to tire him out.
Rope-a-dope.
And then hit him.
Which is what he did to the guy in the Erie. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Like, I mean, he's acting like, fuck, if you're going to make me do this weird strategy. But it was literally the same thing he
but
did.
the Servardis isn't the mountain. And
I understand.
Kyle did mention it, but just, I got to get the actual, like, all the logistics in line. Lolly's is the younger sister. Her older sister has a husband. They've been married like 9 years, though, no children. And I guess he's old and not well or something. And Braun's basically like, yeah, he's going to die soon.
No, I think he just says that he wants virgins, so the land is going to pass to
he preferred
the
virgins.
Wife, not to him.
Got you. And then he's like, yeah, and if the wife dies, then it passes to Lolly's. Yeah, got you.
Yeah, before her mother. So, like, if Felice somehow dies before the mom, then that's
exactly. Then Lolly's is there. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
And Tyrion's like, I wonder if Cersei knows who she's dealing with. But yeah, exactly. Then we get to the talk of the mountain.
Yeah. So he's fast. He's big as shit. He's even like faster than a big man should be.
And he doesn't feel pain. Like
he can take some blows. He's got a strong chin. And he's like, look, there's a chance. I'm not willing to take that chance right now. And this is where the show, like, Tyrion gets upset. Like, what do you mean you're not going to fight for me? Like, it's like he needs to. Like, he's a sworn sword to him.
Well, and that's, I guess, kind of what I'm saying. That took it a little different. Keep going, though.
Yeah. So my line in the show, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember it, but Tyrion's basically like, what are you talking about? You're not going to fight for me. Like, that's what you do. And Bronn basically turns it back on him with a question, like, how many times have you sacrificed your life for mine? And Tyrion's like, oh, fuck, like, I never would have done that for you, and you've done it. I think at this point he's saved him a couple times.
Yeah.
And
Bronn's like, why would I
at
do
least
it?
twice.
And he's like, because I'm your friend. And he's like, and friends would do that for each other.
Yeah.
He's like, I like you. He's like, but how many times have you risked your life for me? He's like,
why should I risk it? Because you're my friend.
Aye, I'm your friend. And when have you ever risked your life for me?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think the friend part maybe a little bit for sure seemed to be where the relationship was to me, at least. But at the same time, I think this kind of the book captured a little better in a sense,
I think
because
they're
like
friends, too.
Bronn was yes, but Bronn was still never really in it for anybody but Bronn, and I think that's
like,
very evident with the Stokecourt
It's
thing,
almost
right?
like you employ someone and you really have a great relationship, and
you think you have a great relationship,
right? You have a good working relationship. You get along while working, and then that person takes a better job
at your competitor,
and it's like, what do you mean you're leaving me? Like you're taking that job? And he's like, well, fuck yeah, you just tripled my salary. Like
it's work, this was always work. Right,
yeah.
like that's Bronn's take on this.
That's a good. I think it's a good comparison and a good analogy. Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah, it would be like leaving one pizza place and going to the other one and taking the secret recipe with you or whatever, right? You know, like
yeah. So Tyrion tries to provoke him. He's not feeling it, and Bronn ends up bouncing. He's like, all right, man, good luck.
I think there's a funny line that's in both the books and the show, and Bronn's like, "You're offering me the North, like that's what I win is a cold North." He's like, "Right now I could be with Lolly's, who's warm and close by. I could be with her in 2 nights." And Tyrion's like, "That's not something I would want." And he's like, "Is that so?" Admitted him. Given the choice between fucking Lolly's and fighting the mountain, you'd have your breeches down and your cock up before a man could blink. And Tyrion thinks he knows me too bloody well.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Is that in the show too? Did he say that in the show?
Yeah, definitely for something similar. Like yeah,
that's funny. But he's like, all right, man, like I'm not taking that chance. So good luck.
Well, he's like, but the mountain's kind of hurt. He's kind of on the injured list right now. That's what he says.
Doesn't matter.
And I mean, are you too much of a bitch to fight him?
We've definitely had this conversation before. Like, could any of us beat LeBron with a sprained ankle? No. You know what I mean?
No,
like we're still
no, not even. No,
I think we've had this conversation before at some point. Like the answer is no.
He would need to have like 2 torn ACLs and like his shooting arm like he can't raise above his hand.
Like I said, if you're not scared to fight dirty though, because Braun would fight dirty. We've seen it.
Yep, that's true.
So I mean, like, I think if you fought dirty against the Braun, you're like I said, you're not afraid to kick him in the nuts. You might be able to outscore him.
If no technical fouls are called, get it.
Yeah. Street ball.
So Braun also has a line right before he leaves that I think kind of starts this theme throughout the chapter. I think that it's like a theme that isn't mentioned at all, but like on a reread, I thought it was really strong. Jaime is in King's Landing. Tyrion doesn't know that.
Right. Hasn't seen him yet. Right. But
Jaime's in King's Landing. Like, he was in King's Landing before the trial. He was there when Tywin was meeting to set up the judges, right? So there's a part here where Braun's like, he's like, I sell my sword. I don't give it away. I'm not your brother.
And he doesn't say he's here.
Exactly. He doesn't mention it.
So that was actually like going to be my prediction, and kind of still is until the end, was that somehow Jaime was going to fight for him.
One-handed Jaime versus the Mountain.
Yeah, because so like Jaime, and like, I mean, we can get into this now instead at the end, because like Jaime, like, he has nothing but shit to prove right now, right? Like, he fucking hates all these people. I think the only person that would really be on his side would be Tyrion. And like, what's the worst that happens? He ends up dead.
Are you saying those names backwards?
No, Jaime, like, his dad doesn't really, like, I mean, I feel like nobody, like him, like, he's not getting along with anybody right now, right?
Yeah, but he's still the heir.
Jeff, do you forget how the last chapter went?
I mean, right.
Like, I feel like he was completely at odds here, and I think he still thinks that he could beat the fucking Mountain. Why not, man? This is Jaime. Like, and like,
I don't know if he truly believes
I think
that.
this would be like the, hey, fuck you all. I'm still worthy. Like, that's like been his whole arc to now, is like, I have no self-worth. I have no self-worth. Here's this event that could completely prove his worth, right?
I like everything you're saying.
I don't think he believes that he could beat the Mountain.
But I agree. I still think he might do it. Just to be like, fuck it, who gives a fuck at this point? I'll go out swinging for my brother.
I don't even think it's for my brother.
But like Jeff said, I don't think he honestly believes he could beat the Mountain. Like,
I don't think he believes that he could beat any good knight.
He talks like, he's like, I can't do shit. Like you said, like, I can't even put on my pants by myself anymore.
But I guess where I'm at is that last chapter, he went like on this explosive kind of trajectory, right? Towards the end, it seemed to be.
Yeah. No, you're
where
right.
I don't think he was like making great decisions and thinking 100% right. And like, I mean, you arguing against me so much makes me think that it's probably not how it happens, which is fine. Cause like, I think this is probably a better conversation this way.
Well, no, I agree with everything you say. I just don't think that he actually believes he would win in a 1v1 versus the Mountain.
Why the fuck not, man?
Because he, like, just like his inner monologue since he's lost his hand.
Yeah.
He knows he's no good in a fight. I think he's like threatened Balon Swan and been like, I'll fuck you up, knowing that he could. Balon Swan would fuck him up if it actually came to that.
Yeah.
And well, now he has this new sword too.
So if we go back to his first trial by combat, he was like, I need my brother. I need Jaime. Send Jaime. And I think if he knew he wasn't injured, like, he obviously doesn't know he's injured, right? But he also doesn't think he's out of captivity. So he's like, obviously not.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think even injured, he would still say send Jaime, because I think he would be using him right now, at least as kind of a confidant. Go ahead, Jeff.
And the one thing that could change would be Cersei seeing that Jaime's not fighting for Tyrion, which could be a point of contention, right? Cersei would be like, what the fuck? Like, he killed our son. You're defending him? Maybe she does want him dead at that point, or maybe she would be like, fuck, I don't want the Mountain to kill Jaime.
Yes.
Let me pick a different champion.
And that is the other part of what I was getting at, is like, I just think the plot of that happening would have been very interesting. And it would have been like all Lannister shit. Tywin would have been freaking out. Like, I think that was kind of part of it for sure, was like, that's a huge landmine situation, and that seemed to be where a lot of things happened and went in this book, right? So
also, you said this, Kyle, and I just don't know if it'll get lost in the editing because we were kind of getting excited there and talking over each other. But Jaime he doesn't know it based on what we saw in the last chapter, but Tywin did give him his new
sword,
sword, right? So like, if it all went down this route, it would be kind of cool, even if it is one-handed Jaime with a fancy sword versus the Mountain. That, again, does that even the odds enough? Who knows, right? But
the sword definitely put me into the Jaime needs to fight soon thing. It's kind of Chekhov's gunny, right? Like, where you don't give this dude a sword if he's not going to sword somebody.
Yeah,
like,
gotcha.
What's the point? So,
yeah. So he has 2 more names that he does think of for his champion. Timit, son of Timit, and Shagga.
Who's fucking people up with the Hound right now, or near the Hound right now, right?
Again, I don't want to skip
Timit.
it, sorry, Jeff, but like right when Bron's leaving, another just like kind of a wholesome moment. Bron's like, "What are you gonna do?" And he's like, "I guess I'll have to fight the mountain myself." Like, what a song that'll make. And Bron's like, "I hope I hear him sing it." Again, like I feel like in the show, that's where I start getting a little like choked up. Like, damn, like Bron doesn't want to do this, but he knows like it's because they are friends.
But it's a working relationship. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And Pod's like, "I'm sorry," and then kind of like I think Jeff kind of mentioned it. Tyrion I think says a little bit more about this openly in the show, but Tyrion basically says why Bron because he's a black-hearted rogue. That's what I liked about him in the first place. Like, literally.
Yeah, this is him, right?
Him.
This is why he was ever on my side to begin with.
Yep.
Here we are. It was bound to come to call eventually. Here it is.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's not finding those gaps. Sir Kevin comes back, or Uncle Kevin. I don't know. I guess he's a sir. No sign of Sansa. Yep. No sign of Dantos. And he's just like, what the fuck? Like, how can I prove something that 1,000 people saw me pouring wine into his glass? Like, everybody saw me doing that right before. We're screwed. I'm screwed.
The circumstances definitely point to him, 100%.
So then he lays in bed at night, stares at the canopy, and sees his ghost and lists off a bunch of people. His first wife, Tysha, kisses him. Sansa Stark's naked and shivering in fear. Joffrey clawing at his own throat, Cersei's eyes, Bron's wolfish smile, and Shay's wicked grin. And then he can't go to sleep, so he tries to rub one out. Even thinking of Shay won't make it work, so then he just stays up all night, I guess, and then the trial comes again. Again, kind of like, why do we need to know about that, George? But whatever.
That seems to be Tyrion's go-to, right?
Yeah, he's trying to get a little pre-trial ejac, clear the head.
Calm him down a little bit.
Yeah. Fucking a little clarity.
Yeah. So, first day of trial, we're there. Sir Adam Marbrand comes and picks him up. He is the leader of the Gold Cloaks.
Yes, exactly. He is the new Janis Slint / Iron Hand.
Yeah. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, I'm a member of the royal family. Like, not even a Kingsguard can guard me down? Like, you're like, well, they're all kind of against you. They're all testifying against you. You're kind of.
Yeah, we didn't want to bring all the character witnesses. Like, we didn't think that would be smart if they were the one your escort.
Yeah. Send the wrong message.
Yep. So he gets in the throne room.
Yep.
A lot of people there. It's like OJ trial. Literally everybody's packed in. He sees the Tyrells. The judges are up there. They're not on the throne, at the base of it. Septon starts with a little prayer, and Tywin's like, "Did you kill him?" I thought
it was funny that they just mentioned there was only one table missing, and it's probably the couple table, right? The husband and wife's feast table.
I would assume it was a table at the wedding. Yeah,
because they said it was the throne room, still pretty much decorated, and they said except for one table, everything was there except for one table.
Oh, I didn't understand what. I guess I didn't catch what that meant. You meant like still decorated like the wedding.
I don't know if it's decorated like the wedding, but it's like set up like the wedding.
Gotcha. I didn't quite get that.
Yeah, I think it would be the sweetheart table. It's right in the middle. It has to. I mean,
that's funny. That's cool. I didn't think about that.
Right in front of the throne. So yeah, hundreds are there. Marjorie. He notices Marjorie standing with all of her people. She's grieving, but still looks pretty good. And the judges are up front. Yeah.
Septon starts it with a little prayer. Tywin's like, "Did you do it?" Tyrion's like, "No," and Oberyn's like, "Okay, that's a relief." And Mace is like, "Did Sansa do it?"
That
made
me chuckle.
Oberyn's just like joking through the entire. The thing is,
good.
like,
we're done here.
Again, the ending I think is a really awesome reveal, but like I don't think everyone should have read it. Like we know basically. Kyle, why don't you say it just to make sure I'm not remember something for future time?
Well, like Oberyn doesn't think it's him, right? Like Oberyn's willing to fight for him. Is the end of this chapter?
Fight for him because he'd be fighting against the Mountain, who he wants revenge on, right? Like, it's what I guess I'm getting at is Bronn came to Tyrion and already knew the Mountain was the opponent, which to me means Oberyn already knows the Mountain is the opponent, and he came to King's Landing to get pretty much revenge on the Mountain. So, like, to me, that Oberyn probably knew before the trial started, like, I'm going to fight for Tyrion. I don't give a fuck what happens if he's guilty or not. This is my opportunity. So that's kind of why, like, to me, he's joking throughout it. Like, everything he says is kind of like a joke.
I think it's half his personality, too, to be like that.
For sure. He's kind of like
second son that doesn't, like, really give two fucks about
Well, he's got quite the reputation as well, exactly. So that would agree with you, Jeff. So
So he also thinks about Mace and Oberyn not liking each other on this deal, and like maybe I can use their feud against them, which would be. I don't know how he would use that. Strategically,
it's like he's on the right track. Like, okay, Oberyn has feuds. Who does Oberyn have feuds with? Mace and
the mount. Right. He doesn't complete the puzzle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And again, it's understandable. He's on trial, but again, I feel like some of the stuff I've been saying, like he would go down the let's try and figure out who actually did it to prove my innocence, or like let's go down the Oberyn. I feel like Tyrion is the character who would think of this and like just isn't right now because it makes the chapter better. You know what I mean? It like keeps surprises.
Yeah, true. It makes the chapter better, and too much is going on. So the other part, which is funny, is that he goes into like, I didn't kill him, the gods did, and Mace was like,
well, because he wouldn't say Sansa did it.
Yeah,
this is where he talks about it. He wrapped his wedding cloak around her, and he owes it to her to protect her, and then he says the gods did it.
The gods did it. His pigeon pie. They're like, oh, do you blame the bakers then? You're like, the bakers are the pigeon, just don't blame me. Just keep me out of it. It's such a great line. It's so good.
But then, like, the audience starts laughing and tears, like, fuck, this is not the place to be making jokes.
Yeah.
Oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, strike one. Well, there's actually more than strike one, or strike three, so maybe not the best metaphor.
Yeah, he gets 3 strikes for trial. Did you guys ever do a mock trial in school? Like in school, we did a mock trial. I don't remember anything about this book, but the book Shiloh. I know there's a beagle in it.
Shiloh was a great book. It's a movie too. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't remember the book either. There's a beagle. That's all I remember.
I know, but I don't remember anything. I know I read it in school, but I don't remember anything except for there's a beagle. But I guess there's a trial in it, and I think it was 3rd grade.
Are you sure it was Shiloh or?
I think it was Shiloh.
What's the other one?
We reenacted.
Airbud.
No, Kill a Mockingbird.
Kill a Mockingbird is a big trial for sure. Yeah. It might have been that one, and maybe I'm totally misremembering. But I remember like learning about how trials worked in school by like in class one day. Like everyone got like you're the like one kid was the judge, one kid was the defense attorney, one kid was the prosecutor, a bunch of kids were in the jury.
We did one mock trial, and it was 1st grade. I did the mock trial of Chicken Little.
Okay.
And I was the judge. I think it was Judge Frog or Judge Toad.
Gotcha.
I think that was the only one I was in.
Is there a trial in that book, or what you guys just had to like?
I think it was like a made up play. Like, Chicken Little was falsely accusing the sky of falling or something like that, or whatever the story is.
Yeah, I know we don't have time to get off topic, but I was just thinking that because when the whole time I was reading like from here on in the chapter, I was like, it would have been so cool if like this was the mock trial I did in 4th grade. I mean, obviously there's like rape and murder and stuff. So you can't
for sure,
4th
Nelson.
Grade,
yeah,
but, like
4th grade. How about like 14th grade?
Like if you did a mock trial in college or something, this was it.
This guy's
because I think there's a lot of really interesting points here. Like, so let's get into it. Balon Swan, first witness, actually honorable guy. Everything we've heard about this guy, stand-up guy. He's not like Meryn Trant. He's not like Boros. He's a good guy.
Who's the one that? Oh no, it's Pod that saved Tyrion at the fight, right? Like
at the Blackwater. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it wasn't. Swan wasn't involved in that. That's all I'm getting at. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is an honorable guy.
Tywin yells at Tyrion for like, "Shut up! You're not allowed to talk to unless we ask you to," which they're obviously never going to. And then it's like, we'll present the witnesses against you first, and then we'll take your witnesses, and then we'll decide. So here we go. Balon, you're up first.
And again, he actually is like hyping up Tyrion. He's like, I fought with him side by side in the Blackwater, and like he's little, but he was getting it done. Like he's full of bravery and courage.
Yeah, he's a brave man for his size, and I will not believe he did this thing.
But
I
did see him like throw Joffrey down, slap him, kick him at the riot.
He did strike his grace. That's so. It was a fit of wrath, no more. A summer storm. The mob near killed us all.
Yeah. Weird. He said he actually lies because he says I had to pull him off. He didn't. Mandon Moore pulled him off Joffrey. Again, I don't know why it really matters, but a different Kingsguard pulled him off. I guess it's just like a misremembrance. But everything else he says is
that a dead
correct.
Kingsguard? Mandon Moore? I haven't heard his name in a long time.
He was the guy that
he was the one that tried
to kill him, right?
Yeah.
So this is also one of those things where I guess over time, like your detail they say witnesses are notoriously awful. Even like direct eyewitnesses are awful at recalling an event. So maybe it's just something that he believes now. Is like he was there, he saw him get pulled off, so now he believes it.
I think so too. Yeah, exactly.
Insignificant.
Yep. Next thing is Oberyn. I think this is interesting because it calls back to something else. Oberyn's like, hey, in the days of Targaryens, if you hit the king, whatever you hit the king with got chopped off.
You would have took his hand, yeah. Did you guys forget your duty?
Where do we know this from? Kyle? Jeff?
Duncan Egg.
Dunk an egg. Dunk punches and then kicks Arian when he's hurting the puppet girl. And then basically they're like, okay, we're going to cut off your arm and a leg. And he demands trial by combat instead. And then it goes to trial by 7. So, yep.
Yeah. So next up comes Meryn Trant.
Yep. So the answer to Oberyn was Tyrion was also royal blood. He was an acting hand at the time. Tywin corrects him that he was only acting hand. But yeah, that's the answer. So yeah, Meryn Trant next. Sorry.
Meryn's next. He tells the tale when Sansa was getting, what was the verb they used?
Well, he expands on what Balon was saying.
Pretty much like stripped it.
And everything he says is true.
Yeah, whatever. But his new part is the Sansa part. Chastised? Was he chastising her?
Well, really, what's happening, right? This is where he gets in. He gets into the part where Tyrion explains to himself, like, "Oh fuck, this is what Cersei's doing, right? Like she's starting with a known truth, and then kind of leading it further and further from the truth to the point where everybody's going to believe everybody because it started in this point of truth, right? Like it started with this very true event that happened and makes sense, and then it's just only going to get more ridiculous from there. And that's like what you said is." His chastisement of Sansa Stark is the word you're looking for, Jeff.
Yeah. I found it. But
the reason I'm bringing it up, my point is that everything's true, right? So Kyle said it's going from truthful to less truthful. That's not even necessarily true. Like a lot, it's surprising how much stuff is true. There are some lies, but I'll point them out. Most of this shit is true. It just goes from honorable people to less honorable people, and like it's not in the right context. For example,
did Tyrion hit him multiple times?
Yeah, he slapped him, which knocked him down, and then he kicked him when he was on the ground. In this case.
All right. I don't remember the knockdown.
The dwarf slapped his face flush so hard that the crown flew from Joffrey's head. Then he shoved him with both hands and knocked him sprawling. You bloody blind fool. The men were traitors. Joffrey squealed from the ground. They called me names and attacked me. You set your dogs on them. What did you imagine they would do? Bend the knee meekly while the hound lopped off some limbs? You spoiled witless boy. You've killed the Clegane and the God knows how many more. And yet you come through unscratched. Damn you. He kicked him. It felt so good he might have done it more, but Sir Mandon Moore pulled him off as Joffrey howled. So slap, push, kick. And I'll take that back a little bit, yeah. Tyrion looks guilty as fuck. That's kind of my point that I was going to get at the end. He looks guilty as fuck, even with without the lies, he looks guilty as fuck just from like circumstantial evidence.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, yeah.
They're just proving motive here. They're proving the motive. Right? We get on to day 2 of all the witnesses. Day 1, they're like, nope, Tyrion hated him. Here's the times it did. So he kicked him after the mob when he was, tearing Sansa's clothes off in the throne room. He said some really choice words to him then, like, do you remember, like, compared him to the Mad King, right?
Exactly,
you remember what happened to him, yada, yada, yada. So.
And then he threatened to have Boros killed when he spoke in his defense. And, again, this is true. The king said, you can't talk to me that way. The king can do as he likes. Aerys Targaryen did as he likes. Has your mother ever told you what happened to him? So Boros Blunt harumphed. No man threatens his grace in the presence of the king's guard. Tyrion Lannister raised an eyebrow. I'm not threatening the king, sir. I'm educating my nephew. Bronn, Timett, next time Sir Boros opens his mouth, kill him. The dwarf smiled. Now that's a threat. See the difference? So, again, it's like true what Meryn's saying. Next up is Boros, who basically says the same thing. Also true. So again, Meryn and Boros are kind of like douchebags. Like Meryn sucks. He's like cruel. Boros also cruel and a coward. He was the one who left Tommen when he was supposed to be protecting Tommen and just like bailed
and got decloaked. Right? Like he's not even a Kingsguard anymore.
He was decloaked. Tywin reinstated him, which I think Tyrion thinks at some point was a stupid idea, but whatever. But yeah, Boros basically says the exact same thing, and Tyrion yells out at this one. It's like, why don't you tell him what you were doing that made me say that type of shit? And Tywin's like, shut up.
What Joffrey was
doing.
Yeah, Joffrey was doing.
Because, they're leaving out all the important part, or the context, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
Yep. So next are the Kettle Blacks, all 3 of them.
Yep. The first 2, Osney and Osfrid, talk about what he was telling Cersei before the battle. The whole, he would wait for a day she was happy and make her joy turn to ashes in her mouth. That's pretty much a direct quote from that scene. So, yep. Neither one mentioned Alayaya, though.
Because, she was being held captive at the time that he said this. Yep, exactly. So he was only...
And whipped to shit, right?
Yeah, she was getting beat up, or was beat up, yeah. Because they even talk about it, Oberyn talks about it at the end, the lashing on her back.
Yeah.
Yep. So then Osmond's up, the last Kettle Black, and he's the one who is now a Kingsguard. And he is probably lying. Again, we can't tell because we weren't there, but he says that pretty much as soon as he was cloaked, Joffrey's like, I think Tyrion's going to kill me. Please protect me. Again, that one's probably a lie.
Guard me well, for my uncle loves me not. He means to be king at my place, which does not seem true because Tyrion never made that.
Joffrey would never have like admitted to like being scared.
It's also Joffrey doesn't talk like that, so there's no. He made it sound like all regal, like guard me well, Sir Osmond. Like Joffrey would never talk like that.
He would have been like, I would kill my uncle in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You see my sword?
Yeah, he ain't scared of him.
That's true. Yeah.
And Tyrion comes out again, speaks, right? And
Liar.
Lies.
Tywin's like, do I need to like gag you and chain you up? And Cersei's like, yes, you do. He is a dangerous man. Put him in chains.
Yeah. And Oberyn's like, he's a dwarf. Do you think we're fucking afraid of dwarf? Like, calm down.
You think I'm afraid of this guy?
Which again is just he's not taking it seriously. Yeah. Yeah. So they call it for that day. End of day one. He goes blank paper, no witness ideas, little wine. He's thinking of his first wife, the whore one, not the wolf one. I think this is kind of like a sad moment for Tyrion. He thinks that her love for him was just a lie, but he believed it, and that was better than nothing. Give me sweet lies and keep your bitter truths.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
Yeah, well, like, fuck this, right?
And then he thinks about Shay. It's weird because then the line after is like he thinks about Shay, and then it just keeps going. Like, which I think is like he kind of knows all along that Shay's like just like his whore, right? Like he was telling himself he was in love, but really like he knew is I think kind of like I'll take the lies any day. It's kind of where he's at.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting because that's like all his relationships, really. Because Bronn's the same way, Tysha, Shay.
Yeah. It sucks.
No one really wants to be with him. They're just
hit with him
paying
for
people.
money.
Yeah.
So Kevin comes back. He's like, hey, anybody else? He's like, hey, can I have Varys? And he's like, do you want the eunuch? Well, okay, fine. And so day 2 starts with Maester Balabar and Franken, who must have performed the autopsy on Joffrey, and they saw no lodged pigeon pie in his throat. Has to be poison. That's what they've got from their findings.
I wish I knew who. I think these guys are Redwine and Giles Rosby's maesters. I think are who these two guys maesters are. I just think it's interesting. They seem unbiased. Is my point. It's not Pycelle, right? If it was Pycelle, like maybe you can't believe him. Again, I don't think this is a super crucial point. I think everyone believes he was poisoned anyway. But it seems like we're using unbiased maesters
for sure
from a George point of view here. But yeah, poison. Next up, we have a less unbiased maester, Grand Maester Pycelle. Yeah, exactly. Maybe not Grand Maester anymore.
It's still listed as that, but yeah.
Again, he's kind of speaking truths here. He is talking about... First off, he's frail. He's like all fucked up, but he brings out all these poisons and he goes through all of them.
He needs to get to the point. Like, we get it. Tell us what the fuck you're doing here.
Yeah, Tyrion stole all your poisons. Yeah.
Here are all the poisons Tyrion stole from me. All right, Maester Pycelle, thank you. Get off the stand.
I don't remember him stealing all of them. Like, can we talk about that? Like, do you have that? I remember him going to his room and like looking at the poisons and stuff. I don't remember him taking them.
So this is when he was telling Pycelle, Littlefinger, and Varys each a different thing. He was telling like one of them, hey, I'm going to marry this kid to Dorne, and I'm going to marry this one to here. And when he's with Pycelle walks up to send the Raven, and he goes over and looks at all his medicines. Maesters' medicines were an impressive display. Dozens of pots sealed with wax, hundreds of stopped vials, and many milk glass bottles, countless jars of dried herbs, and each container neatly labeled. An orderly mind, Tyrion reflected, and indeed, once you puzzled out the arrangement, it was easy to see that every potion had its place. And such interesting things. He noticed Sweet Sleep, Nightshade, Milk of the Poppy, the Tears of Lys, Powdered Greycap, Wolfsbane, and Demon's Dance, Basilisk Venom, Blind Eye, Widow's Blood. Standing on his toes and straight upward, he managed to pull a small dusty bottle off the high shelf. When he read the label, he smiled and slipped it up his sleeve. So he took one. However, later when he does go and captures Pycelle and throws him in the thing, he takes everything else. But that's important because we hear the list of what is there. The one he takes...
Lys is the one missing, right? Or no? Go ahead.
He said Lys was there. But the one he takes, we know he uses. So the one he takes is not the Strangler. That's the one they're looking for.
Oh, it's the poop one, right?
It's the poop
he
one.
Brought the.
It's laxatives. He gives Cersei
he got
laxatives.
the Visine to put in Cersei's drinks. Yeah,
exactly. What's important here is everything else I just read is what he probably did take because he took everything else after he threw Pycelle in the cells, right? After he basically found out Pycelle is the one that's telling Cersei everything, and he throws him away. So he has all this stuff. What's important is the Strangler, the one that Pycelle basically says,
it was just called
hey,
the
you
Strangler.
took, and the reason that it's not here anymore is because you used it all.
You used it, and we can't find it.
To kill the bestest boy in the world.
We don't know because he doesn't list every potion on himself. but it's not one of the ones that Tyrion mentioned as being on his shelf. So it seems like Pycelle is lying about having this and Tyrion taking it and using it, right? So, which again makes sense because we know Tyrion isn't guilty. So, but exactly. And that it kind of like when Jeff said he needs to hurry it up, the reason I think he's going through all this is because, again, he's lying. He's like, look at all these potions I have. One of them's missing, even though he never actually had it.
I don't have the one that would actually... Yeah. There's got to be records. Not that they can't fake the records of, like, what's in the inventory, but, yeah. So, next is all the witnesses from the wedding who witnessed... and again, this is kind of the point, I think, Nels, like, the witnesses like, oh yeah, no, I did see it. Like some of them probably believe that they saw Tyrion pour something into the cup, or
hold on.
Joffrey.
I agree with you that that a lot of my point is what these guys say is true, but also everything that we've heard so far is true, except for two things. Osmond lied that Joffrey said Tyrion wants to kill him, which I feel like is no one cares, and then this lie about the poison that Pycelle makes about the poison, which is a big lie.
But it's Kyle's point from earlier that you shot down, that they're starting with this truth and getting into...
To be fair, I thought more of the retelling of some of those things was more exaggerated than it was. But you're right at the same time, Jeff. This is still part of it, but I thought like they were building on it, like saying like, oh, he was really beating the shit out of him, and really all he did was slap him. I didn't remember that he pushed him down and punched him and stuff. So anyway.
But here, let's cover these ones real quick. I think like Jeff was saying, a lot of it's true. Redwine, Celtigar, and Fleming Brax all heard Tyrion threaten Joffrey. I'm guessing a lot of these accounts are like the day of the wedding.
They're probably all the same thing.
Did he threaten Joffrey at the day of the wedding? Like he made a joke about him being able to beat him in the jousting on the dog and the pig.
Who was the guy next to him at the table? I can't remember. Was it the other Tyrell, the brother Tyrell?
Yeah. Garland.
Good brother Tyrell?
Garland. Yeah.
Garland? Like they were kind of joking about like... They were kind of joking about him. I don't know if they like threatened him.
He didn't testify though. Garland didn't.
No,
Right.
Yeah, that would have been a smart name to put on his fucking list. Anyway.
Yeah. That first one was probably true. The next one, 2 serving men, a juggler, Giles Rosby, Hobber Redwine, and Philip Foot all saw him fill the wedding chalice. We know that's true. He
definitely
was
true.
made. Taina Merryweather swore she saw Tyrion put something in his wine. This one's definitely a lie, right? We know. Well, it was Tyrion's perspective. He never mentions it put anything.
Yeah.
So this is a lie, but I think to Kyle's point of view earlier, is it a lie out of malice, or is it a lie out of like, oh, a lot of shit was happening, I thought I saw who knows what? And I know you weren't saying that necessarily in this case, but yeah, that's one of the lies. Next one, Estermont, Peckledon, Galeon of Kai, who is the singer, and then Janos' kids, Moros and Jothos, Slint, all saw Tyrion pour the leftover wine on the ground. True. Again, I think probably dumb move by Tyrion. Again, I don't know if the opposite's any better. If he doesn't pour it out, they can probably have a way to prove there's poison in there, and then is that better?
He probably should have done something better, like accidentally knocked it over, like fake kicked it or something, like, like dropped it out of surprise, like, and then just like dropped his hand down, rather than probably what he did was like pick it up and.
The problem with the wine is like if he kept it in the chalice and it actually was poison.
He's holding.
Then it's the gun. Then you have the smoking gun in your hand.
Yeah. So this is better than that.
But he also kind of like you've also got rid of said smoking gun.
Yeah, you threw the smoking gun at the river and everybody saw you do it.
Yeah, it's
but at this, like if he would have just dropped it or knocked it over, sure, like it was a moment of clumsiness. I saw the king was dead.
Yeah,
And again, if he actually did do it, maybe he would have gotten rid of it in a way like that. But yeah.
Yeah, so end of trial day 2.
Kevin comes back at the end of day 2. Varys, hey buddy, he's actually going to testify against you. And he's like, damn. And he can kind of feel, I think, Kevin is like switched sides. He's like, why do you not believe me anymore? Like, what's the... And he's like, well, you stole poison. Like, why would you do that?
You stole poison, and Lady Merryweather saw you put something in the cup. And he's like, she didn't see anything. They're lying, but how do I prove it? And he's like, well, you could confess.
You can confess, and your dad will let you take the black. And it's
the same thing that was offered to Ned, go fuck yourself. Like we saw where that got him. That was Cersei. Your dad wasn't around. Can I trust my dad? Because like Ned thought he could trust Cersei. Like
I didn't quite understand what he meant by that, but like yeah, when it says like he woke up in the morning after thinking about it all night and he still didn't know if he could trust him, like he honestly thinks this is just a fake deal. He's gonna say guilty and Tywin's just gonna kill him anyway.
And then even if they don't, I'm going to have to go to the wall, which is no fucking place for me. I'm going to be known as the Kinslayer or the Kingslayer. Like,
But hang on, we got John. We were talking about maybe the Hound going up there last Arya chapter, and now Tyrion. Think about that trio at the wall.
Yeah, man, they could have the super team up there. And
Solid conversation. That's like forming whatever. I'm not.
It's like when Braun and Chris Bosh went to.
I was gonna make like an NBA, and then you're right. I was gonna use like a bad location though, like going to. I don't know.
Timberwolves, or is that even
Utah.
a basketball team?
All right. Yeah. Timberwolves are in Minnesota, but they're actually pretty good right now.
I feel like Utah is pretty sweet. Yeah.
So yeah, but Kevin kind of takes offense to that. He's like, "Hey, I know my brother, and like, here's why he's a pretty good man. Like, he built this family up. Like, he needs to be the way he is, and he's
actually like that
at least
quote.
fair."
You want to read that Tywin quote? Do you have it?
Tywin seems a hard man to you, I know, but he is no harder than he's had to be. Our own father was gentle and amiable, but so weak his bannermen mocked him in their cups. Some saw fit to defy him openly. Other lords borrowed our gold and never troubled to repay it. At court they japed of toothless lions. Even his mistress stole from him, a woman scarcely one step above a whore, and she helped herself to my mother's jewels. It fell to Tywin to restore House Lannister to its proper place, just as it fell to him to rule this realm when he was no more than 20. He bore that heavy burden for 20 years, and all it earned him was a mad king's envy. Instead of the honor he deserved, he was made to suffer slights beyond count, yet he gave the 7 kingdoms peace, plenty, and justice. He is a just man. You would be wise to trust him.
So I like this quote because the last bit there reminds me of Tyrion, right? Like, he tried to seek justice. He tried to do the right thing when he was in charge and had power, and all he got was mockery and shit on by the king, right? That was Tyrion's whole storyline last book.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not trying to give Tywin sympathy. Tywin is a huge dickhead, but we weren't there. We don't know how it went. It's just kind of interesting to see, like, what does Jeff say? You plant corn, you get corn, right? Like, and it seems like Tywin and Tyrion might have been going through similar situations. Like, Tyrion could end up to be like more like Tywin than he wants to be, right? Because he's gone through similar shit. Like, he's done his best and still got shit on. Again, how true is that? Kevin seems to be looking at Tywin through some rose-colored glasses, but
yeah, fuck
still.
Tywin, right?
Also, I think kind of back to that theme I was talking about earlier, where like, where the fuck's Jamie? Is Kevin? He's like, oh, you love him? He's like, he's my son. He's my brother. It's like, of course I love him. It's like, there's this like, Kevin has this weird like brotherly bond with Tywin. He's like, Tywin is right no matter what.
For sure. Strange. Yeah, and like, he definitely kisses Tywin's ass.
Like, he had to do all this horrible shit. Like, you didn't have to. He's talking about the Rains and Tarbex here. He's like, oh, our dad was weak, so Tywin did what he had to do. He murdered entire families. A whole bunch of people.
Like,
he didn't have to do that. Like,
yeah, no, I know. Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Tywin's a piece of garbage, and Kevin, like you said, is looking at him from this strange worldview.
Yeah. He's reaped a lot of benefits from Tywin being a bad man.
But he also just like follows him around like a puppy dog too, which probably comes from their youth and all that. Like, you know, he seems like he's always syndrome. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So as Tyrion goes to sleep tonight, he then thinks about kind of what his legacy would be if he would be confess, if he would take the blame for this and go to the wall, and it's like making him sick, like the thought of being that. And
yeah,
like,
fuck all this.
Yeah.
Fuck all this noise.
They will call me Kinslayer to the end of my days. For 1,000 years or more, if I am remembered at all, it will be as a monstrous dwarf who poisoned his young nephew at his wedding feast. Like, that sucks. Like, again, like, I feel like we as like just people don't have to worry about that, but Tyrion is in the royal family. Like, this would actually go down in history books that people would read about in the future. Like, people like, and Tyrion's a history buff. He loves reading history, so he'd be the type of person who's like, fuck, like, this is how everyone in the future is going to read about me. Like,
I mean, I agree. Kind of fuck Tyrion though too, right? Like, he did kind of put himself in this position.
Sure, but
he's been trying to play this game the whole time and power play and stuff. So I mean, you're right. He doesn't deserve this directly, but at the same point, he wasn't a saint. You can't look at him with the rose-colored glasses that you
100%,
are. You know,
100% true.
What we're just talking about. So
yeah. So day 3,
all varies
testifying, and he's got receipts. He's brought the records. He's got eyewitness testimony in writing. So he starts with talking about how he was trying to get the Hound away from Joffrey. I don't remember that, Nels. When was that?
Yep, I got the quote. So again, varies are the best because they're 100% true, but so wildly out of context.
Half truths are worth more than outright lies.
That's what Tyrion says after. Yeah. So this is after Joffrey was having everyone strip off Sansa. And basically he's talking with it's Cersei. He's like, Cersei says he's angry with the girl. He was angry with the cook's boy who spilled the soup last night as well. He didn't strip him naked. This is not a matter of spilled soup. And then Tyrion thinks, no, it was a matter of some pretty teats. After the business in the yard, Tyrion had spoken with Varys about how they might arrange for Joffrey to visit Chichias. A taste of honey might sweeten the boy, he hoped. He might even be grateful, God forbid. And Tyrion could do with a shade more gratitude from his sovereign. It would need to be done secretly, of course. A tricky bit would be parting him from the hound. The dog is never far from his master's heels, he observed to Varys. But all men sleep. But some gamble and whore and visit wine sinks as well. The hound does all these things, if that is your question. No, said Tyrion. My question is when. So it's 100% true. He was trying to separate Joffrey from the hound, but he wasn't trying to kill Joffrey or like get him away from his prison. He was trying to take him to a whorehouse.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's kind of great how Varys is playing these. The next one is like he talked about Bronn. He talked with Bronn about killing Tommen, and here basically Bronn is eating off Tyrion's plate after the riot, and Tyrion's kind of fed up with it, and he says, "You go too far." And Bronn says, "You never go far enough." And he tossed the wing bone to the rushes. Think how easy life would be if the other had been born first. He thrust his fingers inside the capon and tore off a handful of breast. The weepy one, Tommen. Seems like he'd do whatever he was told, as a good king should. A chill kept down Tyrion's spine. He realized what the sellsword was hinting at. The only way Tommen was king. And then he says, "I could have your head for saying that." Bronn laughs, and Varys says, "Friends, quarreling will not serve us. I beg you both, take heart." So Varys is present in both these conversations. None of it is like little birds, is why I think these two are different. But again, after Bronn suggests that, Tyrion says, "I could have your head for that." Like he literally defends Joffrey after Joffrey was just a huge dick in the riot. He defends him for saying this is treason what you're saying. And Varys is like, he talked about Bronn with it. Like he talked about it to Bronn.
Can I give a hot take too? Like Varys ends up, it's not really a hot take. Varys continues to talk, right?
Yep.
And he's like, he mentions everything that since Tyrion's probably been back in King's Landing, he's got all the receipts to it. And they're like, "Well, how the fuck do you know this?" "Oh, my little birds. It's my job to know." Like, oh, so your little birds now are like, who the fuck are they? Like, are they reliable? Is that a reliable witness? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
These little, what?
Well, doesn't the Red Viper even kind of say that here? I think maybe he doesn't, and it's just Tyrion that thinks it. And like, how do I disprove this? Right? Like, because it's such bullshit. Like you said, it's these
birds.
mythical beings, the little birds that we don't even know about yet, beyond just them being little birds. And
to be fair, though, all the stuff that the little birds confirmed was true. That he took the poisons, that he threatened Cersei, and Tyrion says pretty much everything else. So I think they're pretty much confirming all the true stuff. Everyone, like all the stuff I said, everything was true.
But Varys is also kind of there for... Wasn't Varys kind of there for most of them? Like, he didn't need his birds.
Well, the two that I talked about, the two previous quotes that I read, he was in person for those. But the other ones, like...
That's what I'm saying. Like, he didn't actually need his birds.
Like, when he threatened Cersei and stole Pycelle's potions, he wasn't there for those. And that's when Oberyn's like, "Why'd you need these?" Then we get the stuff you were saying.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right,
End of the trial. We got one more witness on the next day.
Tomorrow.
Yep.
And he goes back to his room.
which we don't know yet, right?
We do not.
We don't know.
Okay, so who's tomorrow's witness?
Prediction time.
I mean, like, fuck, who did I think this was?
You had a thought and you lost it.
I'm trying to think. The only thing I can think of is like Jamie. Yeah, no, this was like when I was reading it. I probably should have wrote it down.
I mean, Jamie, and he hasn't seen Jamie yet, so they're kind of keeping him away.
That's the only thing I could think of. So we'll go with that for now.
All right, Oberyn shows up.
Oberyn came that night. The first thing I have is that he brings up Cersei in a weird way. His line about, I found the blonde whore you were talking about.
Yeah.
The golden-haired whore I have turned up that golden-haired whore I was talking about. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, did you go to Chitias? And, oh, Chitaya, yes, I did have the Aliyaya girl. But no, I'm speaking of your sister. And I was like, what? What the hell are you talking about? Like, why did he bring up Cersei that way?
Well, I think it's because he doesn't like Cersei.
I didn't understand.
I do have one thing before that. When he comes in, they say the introductions. He's like, Did you poison him? And he's like, no, did you? And he smiles, and Oberyn smiles. He's like, you're gonna have your tongue cut out one day. Oberyn says some like weird stuff here. He like kind of smiles at the "did you" like come back again. It might just be because Tyrion's like being a little sharp with him. But like later, he's like, Tywin will never let that happen. And he's like, Tywin won't live forever. Like Oberyn's saying some like weird shit in here. You know what I mean? But he's like, yeah, someone's gonna cut out your tongue. He's like, yeah, I've actually heard that before. And they're drinking some bad wine. And I think they get into what Jeff was saying.
Isn't he making fun of the Tyrell's wine here?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I'll take some grape juice. Well, it's from the Arbor, so it's not their house.
Yeah.
It's the red wines, but yeah, under their rule. Not Dornish, it's Tyrell.
Yeah, exactly. He's saying this fucking shit wine.
Yep.
The whore is his sister. Has she seduced you yet? This is where he gets a little bit.
Well, he said, what Jeff was wondering. I've turned up that golden-haired whore I was hoping for. And he's like, oh, you found Tertius. And then what Kyle was mentioning earlier.
Oh, because when he came to the city, he wanted a blonde.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, I want a blonde girl.
And Tyrion's like, go to
Makes
Tertius.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's from Dor and they don't have blondes.
Yeah,
there.
okay.
That's
it makes,
fair.
it makes sense.
I didn't remember that.
I was like, what? What the hell is he talking about? But okay.
And he's like, no, at Shatayas, I bet the black skin girl, Alayaya, I believe she is called. Exquisite despite the stripes on her back. But the whore I referred to is your sister. Which again, does he know that the stripes on her back were because of his sister? Like, did he talk to Alayaya and be like, oh, how'd you get that? You think Alayaya's part of her job is to keep her mouth shut about stuff like that? But
yeah,
probably.
I don't think he knows.
It's juxtaposed kind of strangely is kind of what I was getting to. Like, why did he say it like that?
Yeah, I don't think he knows about that. But
It was definitely for us, Nelson.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get a story of the Tyrell Lord as we go back in time. We get a little history lesson.
Well, Cersei propositioned him.
Right.
Cersei has propositioned
marriage,
over him.
His wife or his girlfriend or whatever is down with it, and he's like, yeah, fuck that. It's pretty much.
It's weird because like we don't know exactly what Cersei said, but like she doesn't seem opposed to it. It seems like she is offering this. Do what I want. Say Tyrion's guilty, and me and you can get married. Jaime was so against this when Tywin brought it up, and Cersei's like, whatever. You know what? If I can get something out of it, I'm okay with it.
Well, that and it's Tywin and is in charge, man. I think she follows Tywin, so
I don't know. I don't think
she didn't have the break from Tywin that Jaime did. I don't think you can compare the two of them and their opinion.
No. My point is, though, she wants Tyrion dead. Not that Tywin is being completely fair about this trial, but Cersei is convinced he's guilty and wants him fucking
She's willing
dead.
to do whatever it takes, and if
She's
getting
seducing
Oberyn,
judges to get Tyrion. Like Tywin doesn't seem to have that same motive. So I get what you're saying. Tywin could command Cersei to go do this. I just don't think Tywin has the same motive Cersei does. Like Cersei is furious about this murder.
Yeah,
right?
she's over her brother Tyrion. So, yeah. So after that,
He's like, I would never. In Tyrion's
Well, he
like,
tells the
so
whole
you might
tale.
like that. Yeah, you might like that, right? And he's like, he tells his big story. You want to go to it, Jeff? I think I told you this recently in a spoiler section.
when the young dragon conquered Dorne so long ago, he left the Lord of Highgarden to rule us after the submission of Sunspear. This Tyrell moved with his tail from keep to keep, chasing rebels and making certain that our knees stayed bent. He would arrive in force, take a castle for his own, stay a moon's turn, and ride on to the next castle. It was his custom to turn the lords out of their own chambers and take their beds for himself. One night he found himself beneath a heavy velvet canopy. A sash hung down near the pillows, should he wish to summon a wench. He had a taste for Dornish women, this Lord Tyrell, and who can blame him? So he pulled upon the sash, and when he did, the canopy above him split open, and 100 red scorpions fell down upon his head. His death lit a fire that soon swept across Dorne, undoing all the young dragon's victories in a fortnight. The kneeling men stood up, and we were free again.
So, I think the reason I brought part of this up to Jeff in a spoiler section recently is because when the gift Oberyn gives Joffrey at his wedding day is a scorpion brooch or something like that. So
he's kind of hinting like, hey, I hope you die.
Again, like I said, there's a lot of speculation. Like, we don't get a lot of finite answers about this trial. Different characters have different things of what they thought happened. I think there are some people in the fandom that think it was like a double poisoning. And like, if whatever was going on with Sansa didn't happen, maybe Oberyn was like actually poisoning Joffrey.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I mean, the scorpion's definitely kind of telling. Like, here's how we killed the last king, essentially.
And then kind of like when Tyrion's like, no, did you? Right? Like maybe Oberyn thinks he is the one that did
and he's
it.
like, well, and later on he's like, who would know better than poison than the fucking snake, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he even admits like, yeah, I kind of could be the one.
Say me and you both put the same poison in somebody's cup, and then that person dies. We're both going to think we're responsible. We're not going to assume somebody else put poison in their cup, right? So if this is, again, I don't subscribe to this. I don't think Oberyn had anything to do with Joffrey's poisoning. But if he did, like, I think it's interesting because, like, he could think it was all him, and Tyrion's, like, taking 100% of the blame. You know what I mean? So, like, I think that's another interesting point why to tell the story. But the point of the story in this context is I would rather have that than your sister in bed with me.
Yeah.
The other thing about this history, it's weird. We've heard so much about this guy. This guy who conquers Dorne and leaves his Tyrell in charge, the young dragon. He's the one that the kids are reading about in that Davos chapter. Oberyn has talked about him like 3 times. And Oberyn has said before that it wasn't actually the young dragon who conquered Dorne, because the young dragon wrote his own book called The Conquest of Dorne. But just here in the story, we hear that did not last long. Like, as soon as this shit happened, they all rose up and unbent the knee.
Well, he still conquered them.
Oh, that's not true. Oberyn had told Tyrion in a previous chapter that actually Daeron the Good was the one who brought Dorne into the realm, and he did it by marrying a Martell and having his sister marry the Lord Martell. So like a double family marriage is how they actually brought Dorne into the realm like 2 generations later. Not this guy, but this guy wrote his own book about conquering Dorne. You know
Well, it's this that sounds like at one point they had him knee bent, like they were.
Yeah, well, you're right.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. They didn't rise up. They killed it. One house killed
It might
him.
only lasted a little bit, but it sounds like he got him.
Okay.
Enough to write a book about. It was like
A house. Only one house killed him, and then they didn't have to deal with his shit anymore. Is really what ended up happening. It's kind of what should have happened to Tywin. Is what it really sounds like, because it kind of sounds similar to his whole reign of terror on his own people.
Yeah.
Right.
I enjoyed the story. I enjoy the next part even more when he's like, well, I thank you for kind of taking the blame and getting accused, because it very well could have been me, the master of poisons, who hates his family.
Yeah, some of the stuff we talked about. Yep.
This is exactly what we talked about. Yeah, like you got to find a better.
Yeah.
You got to find a better scapegoat, right? Or better.
Me, I don't know
prospect.
about poison. That guy who hates our family knows every poison under the sun and is a sly son of a gun.
Then he gets into some interesting stuff about Dornish law.
Yeah, it's the sisters come before brothers. It just goes straight down the line.
Age, it's just age, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, gender doesn't matter.
Gender, yeah.
And then Tyrion, I don't know exactly how it goes, if Tyrion's thinking it or who's saying it or whatever, but he's like, Oberyn might say it like, what if we did crown your sister? Because she's in Dorne right now, and she's older. Or not your sister, Tommen's, Joffrey's sister.
Not your niece.
Marcella instead of Tommen, yeah. What if we did?
Just
she's
call
in Dorne
her
now.
Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, right?
Exactly.
Right from there. Boom.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's literally the same thing that just happened when Robert died, right? Like everybody just kind of claimed the throne.
Yep.
So like we could do it again. You want to fucking run it back? Like your dad?
Well, it's law. It's legal. He's saying it's legal.
No. It's legal for her. They're not the ruling. Like, if you want to name her the heir of Sunspear, fine.
Pause. When Dorne was entered into the realm, it was promised that Dornish law will always reign in Dorne.
Sure, but
Marcella's in Dorne.
Marcella's in Dorne, but she's in Dorne. Like,
Until she leaves, yeah.
In Dorne, Dornish law rules. Dornish law
Yes,
says...
Nelson, this is literally just, do you want to rerun it back? What the fuck are you talking about? There's gonna be still claims to Tommen. There's gonna be other claims that come out of this. Like Stannis will continue to claim to have the kingdom.
Like it's basically saying, Nelson, that okay, Dornish people, if you want to pass your house down to your daughter instead of your son, that's on you. You're not going to tell us how we govern the other 6 parts of the kingdom. You do you, we'll do us. And when it comes to this, the son is next. So fuck off.
Yeah. Yep.
Sure. So to Kyle's point, I think the Robert thing's totally different. I think you can't ever say anyone is the actual heir except for Stannis. Stannis is the only by law heir. Joffrey's illegitimate. Renly was the younger brother. Stannis is
but
heir.
people didn't know he was illegitimate. People didn't know that Renly. They didn't know what Stannis was fucking doing out there.
Valid.
This is literally
Stop.
literally just run it back. This is like the same idea. I don't know why you're having this argument.
Hold on. Stop. Valid.
I think you're completely
No. Stop. What you're saying is valid, and you're right. Because at the end of the day, the law doesn't matter. What matters is who has more swords and who can win in the fight.
Yes.
My point is, I think this is a more interesting case than the Robert case, because in the Robert case, the law is very clear. In this case, the law isn't clear. I think technically, they're both could have a very good claim to being, hey, where I am, the law says I'm fucking in charge. Where you are, the law says you're in charge. Does that really matter at the end of the day? No, because it's just going to come to sword. If it went down that road, it would just come to swords and the bigger army wins. I just think it's more interesting to like kind of talk about on paper because legally they're both legit.
I think you're arguing, does does a governor supersede a president? Essentially, is what you're trying to argue. And I'm sorry for our non-U.S. fans that don't understand. So whatever you're saying now is still illegitimate, and I have no time for that. I'm sorry.
I disagree with what you just said, but getting back to the chapter, to me, I think it would come down to, if it went down that road, it would come down to, Dornish law rules in Dorne. It doesn't rule anywhere else. But if Cersei backs Dornish law, which is kind of what they get down, right? Like Oberyn, hey, if we get married, maybe we could use that to get Dornish law everywhere, which would make Cersei the heir to Castle Rock. So Cersei might be on board with that. And Tyrion's like, I honestly don't know who she would back in that. If it came to blows like that, I don't know.
Yeah, because she's a fan. She's a fan of a genderless deal. But the only thing, like, I'll say one more thing now. Like, if Dorne was just to be like, oh no, Marcella's the king or the queen, and didn't like politic to get more people on their side, it would fall flat. But if they went to the north and they were like, hey, support us, and they went to the Iron Islands like, hey, like, let's get this thing going. Now we have a conflict. But as it just stands, I agree with
both of you. If right now they were just like, hey, we think Marcella's queen, that doesn't matter, because who gives a fuck what Dorne thinks? They can't win in a fight versus everybody else. That's what Kyle's saying. That's what you're saying. 100%
no,
agree.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you want to run it back. The fucking South has the army right now. They're the only ones with army. What are you talking about? They'll kick everybody's ass.
If Dorne said Marcella is queen, you think they're going to win that fight?
Oh, fuck yeah. They're the only reason that king is Dorne, not the whole South. Like
It's a big chunk of land, but it's a lot of desert.
What's all okay? You know, I mean, I think I think they could get the Tyrells on there. Though.
No, the Tyrells are trying to marry Marjorie to Tommen,
and they hate each other.
Yeah, I guess.
If you look at the map, they're the foot behind Nelson's head. They're the foot of the land.
Okay, so I thought it was more of the area south of King's Landing then. So that's my misunderstanding, I guess, of the geography. But at the same time, he's also saying, like, is your dad gonna back the granddaughter or grandson? Like, really? Like, you're gonna, like, you think he'll pick on this fight, essentially?
I don't think Tywin would have nearly as hard of a time picking as Cersei would.
I agree.
I don't think picking would be hard, but then again, like, are you turning your army to then go kill her is a whole different deal.
That's what I think. I think if it actually came to blows, I don't think there's actually a contest, which is what actually matters. I just think on paper it's a fun conversation to have. We've been going for too long for this one, so let's just move on, though.
Yeah. So I think it is interesting that Tyrion is like...
someone to argue the legality of Dornish law and the rest of the Seven Kingdoms. Let's go.
It's important.
I think it's interesting that Tyrion doesn't know what Cersei would pick. Like, it's an interesting point.
He's like, that is a good thought experiment for sure.
Yeah. So...
He's like, does it matter? Tywin won't give her a chance. It's not up to her. It's up to Daddy. And he's like, well, Daddy's not going to live forever. And something about the way he said it didn't make Tyrion feel good.
Oh, shit. Is he dying? Is he an old man? Do people die? Valar Morghulis.
And Tyrion's like, you shouldn't say that. It's treason. He's like, I don't give a fuck if anybody hears us. Whatever. I'm just saying somebody's mortal. It's whatever.
Yeah. Well, he's like, look, I'm not saying.
People die. People die all the fucking time, Tyrion.
People die. So... Yeah. All right. So he then goes on like, look, Mace already wants your head. Like, he was the good father. His daughter was going to be queen, and you fucked him with that. So he's ready to take your head off. And he's like, all right, well, I'm fucked then. Like, what's that mean? Like, what are you going to do for me? And Oberyn's like, look, I believe you're innocent, but no one else really cares. And...
you look so fucking guilty. Like, everything points to you. It seems too easy is pretty much what he said. Like,
there's got to be some plot twist here, yeah.
And justice doesn't happen on this side of the mountain, right? Don't you remember all of these people?
Yeah.
Elia, Aegon, Rhaenys, who never found justice.
Why should you? Maybe Joffrey's real killer was eaten by a bear.
Yeah, why does he say that happens a lot here in King's Landing?
It's because he thinks the mountain was pretty much behind everything that happened to his whole family. But it was really the mountain in Amory Lorch. And Amory Lorch got fed to a bear. So when they're like, when Tyrion had promised them justice in Marcella, Tywin answers with, justice was, we were going to give you Amory Lorch because he did everything and he got eaten by a bear. So Oberyn knows it's bullshit that it wasn't completely Amory Lorch. So he's like, oh.
That's right. Yeah. And that's what he says here. It was Gregor who did it. Yeah. You're right.
And Tyrion's like, just so you know, Amory Lorch did do part of it. And what exactly?
He pulled, he stabbed the girl. He stabbed Rhaenys.
Rhaenys. And Oberyn's like, tell me the truth.
The Mountain did smash the baby and then rape your wife
and he's like,
at the orders of your dad. And he's like, No, never. No, not that.
Which is weird. Like, Tywin, throughout this trial, has been shitting on Tyrion. I mean, maybe he gave him the out with a Night's Watch, but, like...
Still crazy. I agree.
He's been shitting on him throughout the trial, and, like, just, like, the gut instinct is, like, protect family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the brainwashing for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right, long story short, I'll be your champion.
Yeah.
I don't know how you want to get there.
Yeah, he pretty much is like, I still fucking know it was your dad. Like, he was the one that brought the babies to the king. Like,
yeah, wrapped in your family cloak.
I want the head that spoke the words, not just the hand that swung the sword. I don't know if anybody said that tonight, and that was like the quote from before when he first showed up. So exactly. So he's like, I'm not going to be pleased until I get Tywin, but I will fuck up the mountain. And I don't know. So like the only other thing I could think come out of this is like Tyrion has one last like real grenade. I don't know that how much it helps him, I guess. And we've been going on long enough. I already gave kind of a weird prediction earlier with the Jaime thing, so we don't have to get too deep into this. But the only weird grenade, like I said, or like the last resort for Tyrion is this whole Joffrey thing and lending credence to Joffrey and the kids being Jaime's, right? I don't know why he would do that necessarily, other than like to say he wasn't the king anyway or something. I've tried to kind of piece together. That's like the only other way I could see him talking out of this. If it's not, if it doesn't come down to Oberyn fighting the mountain.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Like, why is Cersei not afraid? Like, she's coming at Tyrion with pretty much everything she's got. He could just say, like...
There's some truths, yeah, that can come out of this, yeah. And, like, if he's going to die, why not? Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess with for Cersei, like, Stannis has already said it. Like, what harm could Tyrion's word do?
Tyrion's a Lannister.
Yeah, but everyone already thinks he's
I think
guilty,
that's much more... I think that holds much more weight. I know what you're saying, and I follow, but, I mean, like, somebody literally in the family next to him, like...
Yeah, I mean,
I know what you're saying. They think
it.
he did just kill him, but I still think, or if he does something crazy like, yeah, I killed him, but I killed him because he was an abomination, and so are the rest of her kids or something. You know, like I don't know. That's
and he
like
might have a way to have like proof or something. Like
yeah.
I
don't know.
So
I don't know. That's the only like I was trying to think of how like where Tyrion gains the upper hand in this to get out of this, because I don't think this is the end of him.
Cool.
So
predictions are Jaime's the next witness, and he comes in to step in.
And he's going to come in and fight.
Yep.
And he's going to fucking fight Oberyn now somehow. Yeah. Like,
it's gonna be
and
a chapter.
Tyrion's going to talk about, he's going to be like, Marcel and Tommen, are they're Jaime's too? And like, it's a whole thing. Yeah. It's going to be a bumping Jaime chapter next.
Next one's Jaime.
Oh, shit. Maybe we'll find out if
we'll find something out. Yeah. So I guess that would also fit into the Jaime being the next witness, huh? So
we'll see.
That's all I got.
All right. We'll see Kyle in the next one. We'll see the rest of you guys. No, that's right. We'll see Kyle in the next one. We'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section.
For Jaime, usually we say for Jaime.
It's definitely Jaime.
See,
13.
this podcast's gone too long. I drank too many beers, and I forget what we do here.
You fucking
what are you
dumb
saying,
dumb.
Jeff? I'm thinking it's way lower than that. 13, is that what you said?
Yeah, I thought
7?
he had a lot. 9.
8. Jaime 8. We'll see Kyle in the next one for Jaime 8. We'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section. Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle.
All right, later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out with us.
See you on the next one for Jaime 8. Now on the spoiler section for Tyrion trial part 1. Pretty much, I think it's pretty much the Tyrion trial. I think the only other part's the last witness, which is, let's start with that. Shay, not Jaime. Kyle's wrong on that one, but
turns out Shay. It's a good guess.
Good guess.
Jaime.
I
think it's interesting that Tyrion doesn't know Jaime's back, and Jaime hasn't come to see him.
Is it a good guess? Hold on. Let's not give Kyle credit where he doesn't deserve it. Is it a good guess? Like, why would Cersei call Jaime? He hasn't been here. All he could be was a character witness, and we know he likes Tyrion.
I think it's right. I think it's a bad guess because he hasn't seen anything since Winterfell.
Exactly.
They haven't seen each other since Winterfell.
Now, while we're on it, let's talk about Kyle's other prediction for Jaime. Him stepping in and somehow doing the trial by combat. I do like this prediction. This is one of the things. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe this does happen in the books. But I feel like this is a show only thing that Jaime and Tyrion ever talk before the trial by combat. I don't think Jaime ever comes to him. In the show, he does.
I don't recall. I don't
and Tyrion
know.
tells the weird story about like thumping the guy who thumps the bugs.
Isn't that when they talk about Tysha? Though?
Never
in the book. When do they talk about Tysha in the book?
Jaime
after
frees
the trial
him.
by combat.
Jaime's the one that frees him from the cell. Yeah, and right as he's like, "Hey, see you later."
Not Varys.
Well, he's like, "Hey, see you later. Go meet Varys up ahead in this tunnel," type thing. But yeah, that's when he tells him.
Yeah. But he frees him. He does that in the show too, right?
Yeah, but he doesn't tell him about Tysha in the show.
Tysha's not a character.
Tysha's mentioned, but in the show she's just she was a whore the whole time.
Yeah,
which totally ruins the whole point of Tysha. Absolutely horrible change, but
we kind of forgot that it's important to their relationship. I just thought it was weird that Kyle thought like Jaime's not cocky enough to fight the Mountain. Like he might like try to put on a show, but he would never put himself in that situation right now. Like he knows he can't.
Well, again, I think he could put himself.
He can't fight anyone.
He knows, like I said, he knows he wouldn't win. I think there's a small % chance that maybe he would do it anyway, being like, you know what, fuck it. Like in the show, there's a part where Tyrion's like, wouldn't it be great if you did it anyway, though? Just because if you did die, then Tywin's line would be killed in a single stroke.
Would have to kill
like
both.
Basically, that you die and kills the whole line. Because even though he doesn't want to pass it to me, like even that option's gone. So like I could see Jaime maybe wanting to do it just for that reason, just to say fuck you, Tywin, and because like what else does he have at this point? Like Cersei kind of said fuck you. She didn't really, but she kind of was like cold to him a little bit last chapter. So again, I don't think it's likely, but I could maybe see it. I don't think it's a horrible. I don't think him fighting for Tyrion's a horrible prediction. Him being the witness, I think is a pretty bad one.
Yeah. Okay. So
for spoiler points, what you got?
Shay. Well, let's hit on Shay.
Okay.
Because she is Cersei's next witness, which kind of like is Tywin in on like getting. It goes back to remember I was all like she's definitely working for Tywin.
Yeah. Right.
So Tywin would then have to kind of be in on kind of setting up this farce of a thing, which I think he kind of is. I think Tywin truly wants him to take the black, right? Let's just start there. To get rid of him, kind of, but not kill him?
Sure. Can you trust Tywin? Would Tywin have killed Tyrion? It's a good question. I don't know. We would never know.
What's the point of, like, he's a smart guy, like, let him go be a smart guy up at the wall. Like, nobody cares. Or kill him on the way. Like, what does that prove? Like, you didn't kill you didn't...
I just think it's hard to know. Either way. I think it's a 50-50.
Whatever. All right, well, this is what my opinion is, like, in the matter of like, would he rather see his head chopped off or go to the wall? I'm gonna say he probably would vote on the wall.
Okay.
Even if he doesn't. So, but Shay kind of testifying for Cersei kind of implicates Tywin if she was always working for him.
You're saying if she was always working for him, she could have told Cersei like, "Hey, your dad sent me from the beginning. Take it easy on me," type thing.
No, I don't think. I think Tywin's like, hey, I have another witness. It's Shay. This was the whore from like. Well,
in the last Jaime chapter, I think both Cersei and Tywin told Jaime, "We have Sansa's bed made, and we're gonna question her." They both independently told Jaime that. So I don't think what you're saying basically is Cersei would only have contact to Shay via Tywin. But I don't think that's necessarily true because she put herself in the bed-made position.
No, I'm saying not contact. I'm not saying contact. I'm saying proof. Like maybe Shay's like holding the truth close to her chest. Like, no, I wasn't sleeping with you, brother. And Tywin just like walks in the door. Like, no, like remember I've been paying you to sleep with. Like that changes the story.
Sure. So that's kind of exactly what I was. There was one of the previous chapters with Tyrion where Kyle's like, "Oh, Shay could be dangerous to Tyrion." And he's right that Shay ends up being dangerous to Tyrion. But it's because she lies. Like, she has no proof because there is no proof. Right? Like, my point to Kyle in that previous chapter was anything Shay could confess would be more damning to her than it would be to Tyrion. Right? Like, every time Tyrion has a whore, they threaten to hurt the whore or kill the whore, not hurt Tyrion. So if Shay confessed, I'm his whore, it would be bad for her. But if Cersei gets her paws on her and she's like, I'm Tyrion's whore... And she's like, okay, do you like him? And she's like, no, I don't give a fuck. I was fucking him for money. And she was like, okay, well, here's some more money. Lie about him. And she's like, yeah sure thing, bet. And then Tywin's like, here's some more money. Let's fuck. And she's like, yeah, sure thing, bet. I think that's the accepted theory.
So you're not on the fact. I want to know what you think. Was she working for Tywin or not before this?
I think probably not. I think she's a whore who just takes opportunities to make money, which makes sense. I think it's interesting to think about, could she have been working from Tywin from any point back up until the Blackwater? Or not the Blackwater, the Green Fork, the Battle of the Green Fork. Obviously, we've been talking about that theory the whole time. I don't know if I believe it, but I think it's like an interesting theory to think about. Again, it's one of the things we'll never know, so I think it doesn't really matter either way. But
Okay.
First one I had, again, I don't know if we have an answer for it. And I don't know if you're going to remember this, but in Feast of Crows or Dance of Dragons, whichever one where Cersei and Marjorie are like arresting each other with the High Septon, there's a whole thing of like, oh, Marjorie won't be able to use... Marjorie has to use a Kingsguard in her trial by combat. And she won't be able to use Loras because he's injured. She won't be able to use Ares because he's in Dorne. So she'll have to use...
Wait, Marjorie does a trial by combat?
No. But like, you don't remember this? There's a part in Feast of Crows and Dance of Dragons when like Cersei's like, once we get Marjorie imprisoned for like knowing about for being a whore.
For Loras.
No. In the show, it's for knowing about Loras.
Yeah, she was sleeping with people, right?
Yeah, exactly. Once we get her arrested for that,
Did she actually? Do we know? Are we confirmed?
we don't know.
But she had slumber parties.
Everything Cersei has accused her of, we know, is pretty much fake. Cersei's accused her of a bunch of fake stuff. There's a potential that Marjorie maybe is promiscuous and actually has slept with some people out of wedlock, but it's kind of separate from Cersei's accusations.
So, all right, so Cersei's going through that she would need a Kingsguard?
There's a whole thing where Cersei's like, oh, once she gets arrested, and someone's like, well, what if she does trial by combat? Then it doesn't matter what evidence you have. And Cersei's like, if she does trial by combat, because she's of royal blood, she has to have a Kingsguard be the one to defend her. And Loras is hurt.
I mean, I think that's more of like a Kingsguard rule would make sense to me.
But
like,
Tyrion's royal blood.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not Tyrion. Joffrey's royal blood. He's the king. Gregor is not in the Kingsguard. To me, Cersei should not be allowed to pick Gregor, is what is kind of my point here. So if any of you fans, and maybe it's a thing where like Cersei institutes the law in Feast of Crows that like you can only have the Kingsguard defend you if you're royal, let me know. But I'm pretty sure that's like a big plot point for Cersei, and because when Cersei gets arrested, she's like, fuck. Now the problem that I had put Cersei in, where she had to choose Meryn or Boros, I'm in the fucking same problem. And Qyburn's like, ooh, don't worry.
Oh wait, I have zombie mountain for you.
Yeah, Qyburn's doing is it the Simpsons guy? The nuclear power plant guy who rubs his hands together?
I don't know. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the GIF meme. I don't know
Qyburn's
the context
like,
behind who that guy is, though. Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
All right, I want to switch gears. My only real point is Oberyn. I want to talk a lot about Oberyn.
Okay.
But so we can wait till the end if you have more up to there. I don't really have anything but
I got some quick ones. And then it was dawn and time for his trial to begin. Was when the trial first started. Again, I don't know if it super matters, but like maybe later in the series, once the battle for Long Night is ended, maybe like when I read that, I was thinking like, what could this mean for like foreshadowing? And I was thinking maybe Tyrion had to do some pretty fucked up shit to somehow help us win the Battle of the Long Night. He had to like sacrifice a city to win the Long Night. And now the Long Night's over, and then it was dawn, and time for his trial to begin. So like he did something, but like, you know what I mean? Like he crossed the line. So now, even though he helped win, he's on trial for what he did. That I think that could be a cool thing. I'm reaching super far there.
You're reaching on like sacrificing a city. Like I don't know what that means. But
I'm just saying Tyrion has to do something that like the fans would condemn him for.
I mean, we know that at the end of season 8 that somebody kills Daenerys because of the Mad King. What if he killed Daenerys?
Sure, but I'm thinking more like he does something related to the Long Night, just because it's related to Dawn. And then it was
It's never going to happen, so it doesn't.
Again,
we're never going to read anything about this, so it doesn't matter.
Next thing, a little trivia for you. Cersei, we don't have Cersei chapters yet, but we will soon. There's a big driving prophecy that drives Cersei. Remember her prophecy?
Your golden shrouds.
Exactly. So there's a witch basically told Cersei a bunch of shit at one point. Some of it had to do with Robert having more children than her. She would have 3. Robert would have like 16 or something. The other thing was that like they would gold their
Gold their crowns and gold their shrouds.
So like golden hair, but they're all gonna die. And then there's the Valonqar.
Oh, I thought it meant like actually that they were gonna like be princes and princesses because like this was when she was a kid.
Oh, maybe that's cool. That could be the crown part. Shroud is like a death thing.
Because I mean I'm going off the show. I don't remember the book prophecy, but she's like, "Am I going to be queen?" He's like, "Yeah, you'll be queen."
Yep.
And like, "Will me and the king have kids?" "Yeah, you will." And gold will be their crown. Like,
no. She says like, "Well, we have kids," and she's like, "Yeah, he will have 16, you will have 3." And she's like, "What? That doesn't make sense."
Yeah.
This is all the same in the
Sure,
book too.
but
keep going.
Sure, but then it's like gold will be their crown. Like,
and gold will be their shrouds, meaning they'll all die before you.
Right.
The shroud part is to me, the shroud part's the important part. I think what you're saying is clever. It might be true. It might prove that they're each crowned because they are.
For sure. I don't think it means that they're going to have gold hair. I think it means that they were going to be princes and princesses.
Got you. I said that the gold crowns meant golden hair. You're saying it's because they're all crowned, which is true. Joffrey, Tommen, and Marcella are all crowned. I'm more focused on the shroud part now, though, right? Because Cersei heard this prophecy.
Yeah.
Some of it has come true, right? She definitely knows Robert as bastard. She knows her children are not Robert's. She probably put that together. Now a son has died, so now some of the shrouds is happening.
Hold on. The prophecy said that she would have 3.
Tommen, Joffrey, Marcella.
The prophecy didn't tell her that they wouldn't be the kings. Didn't she ask, like, will me and the king have kids?
She says, well, the king and I have children. And she says, and I think she says, yes, he'll have 16 and you'll have 3. And she's like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. But I think just because she was a child, now she probably understands that.
Yeah, it's not implying who the parent
exactly
is of either one.
Yeah, it gets the whole. When you ask the genie the question, you got to be really careful about your wording. Yeah. Will me and the king have kids together? No, is the answer. You know what I mean?
No.
yeah. She worded it wrong. So
that's why you don't even fuck with genie. If you get offered 3, if a genie pops up, just walk away.
Yeah, tell him to go offer to your enemy.
Yeah, you're fucked.
So what's the last part of that prophecy?
Gold will be their shrouds.
So shrouds, their death.
You'll see them all die? I don't remember.
Something about her dying by the hands
of you said the Valonqar, which is the younger brother.
Younger brother. I think little brother. Not younger, little. Because, again, people go crazy.
She has 2 little brothers.
They're both technically little brothers. Yep. And people...
Which is mentioned in this chapter.
And people take it to even mean like, oh, technically the Hound could count. Because the Hound is a little brother to...
Any little brother.
People go crazy with this theory. But yeah, most people think it means Jaime or Tyrion. People think that Cersei thinks it's Tyrion, but it's actually going to be Jaime, to a technicality. My point is, though, this prophecy is in her brain, and once we start getting her chapters, it's clearly gnawing at her. I'm betting for a lot of her life she didn't care about it, but at some point she probably thought...
But once Joffrey... And now that Joffrey's dead.
Exactly. Once you started putting together that they don't have children with the king together, she's like, oh, I see what that means, maybe. But yeah, but now that Joffrey's dead, not only does that do the shroud, but it also does the crown for Tommen, and very shortly will also do the crown for Marcella. To your point, like actual crown.
How does it do the crown for Marcella?
Like Oberyn says, they crown her. Arion turns the crown. Well, I guess you're right. Cersei doesn't know about that. That's a plot that goes nowhere. That like Arion Martell... Doran's daughter tries to do that, and Doran squashes it before news gets out. So it's a plot, but it doesn't actually happen. So,
gotcha.
Yeah,
whatever.
You're right. That
they still end up. I mean, I was okay with them just being prince and princesses, not kings and queens. But
the only reason I bring that up at this point is because, I mean, obviously Cersei would want Tyrion dead anyway if she actually thought that he was the one responsible for killing Joffrey. But even if she doesn't actually think that Tyrion's responsible, it makes sense why she is so gung-ho, kill Tyrion, he's guilty. A, she hated him beforehand. But B, now this whole prophecy that says my little brother's going to kill me is coming
Let's try to stop this thing.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So, again, we talked about the Marcella being named queen stuff. I just wanted to mention that. That is a big plot. That's pretty much the whole Ariam plot point of Feast of Crows. She
gets like trapped, right? She ends up getting like arrested for it.
She queens Marcella. They're making their escape, and somebody told.
Oh, okay.
What Doran says is someone told. How did you know? And he's like, someone told. Someone always tells.
Yeah, and like Dark Star's there when
Dark Star cuts Marcella's cheek is the theory. Who knows if it was actually hit?
Yeah.
There's theories around what happened with there.
Who was already Who was already locked up though in Dorne? I forget that. I do forget that. It's been a while since I read that.
I don't think anyone had been locked up yet. Ares Oakheart is down there. We have one Ares Oakheart chapter where he breaks his vows with Arianne, Doran's daughter. She's basically like, you're gonna help me crown Marcella, the one you're protecting. So she gets his protection.
Isn't somebody like in like a tower cell though? Like,
so after that happens, Arianne gets locked in a tower cell because she tried to escape with Marcella and everything went bad. Yeah.
Okay.
And she's learning about Syvas and Dornish history and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Did the Kingsguardman die? Does he die?
Yes.
His head chops off, right?
I think that's who the mountain his place gets taken.
Yeah.
He gets killed by Ario Hota, big axe guy. Yeah.
Dude, the story goes off in like a
totally different. Yeah.
Like, it gets so weird after this.
That's where it is because it's not in the. You're saying weird because it's not the same as the show.
It's just
none
like
of that's in the show at all.
It's just like, okay, here's book 4. Wait, here's all this other people and all this other storyline. Like it just kind of hits you in the face, and you're like, what the fuck's going on?
I think it is weird because you're right. Like we completely. It's like almost like we leave everything that we had going on, like. And in another dimension,
right? I think it's because it's so separate,
unrelated.
Like, I don't understand why they couldn't have stayed intermingled. I do get it. Like you could still.
George has said that he wanted to put it all Dance and Feast together, but his publisher's like it's too big. You got to split it. And
right, but you got to split it in a timeline way, not a character way.
But like you know how at the end of Game of Thrones, Dany hatches her dragon eggs. Ned has just died. Like. All the characters kind of have a character arc. If you
there was no climax to end.
Exactly. It's like in the middle of.
You could have just call it part 1 though. And
exactly. So that's what he said he would do with Winds, because he's like Winds is going to be too big to be published together, and I'm not splitting it like I did the last one.
Like I don't care. I don't care if there's a climax. I guess you're like if you understand that it's part 1, like whatever. But there's got to be a point where you can like call it. So
all right, next
moving on.
Taina Merryweather, Lady Merryweather, is pretty. There's really only 2 people that lie against Tyrion at all here. All the other evidence is actually all true. You're right, it's all circumstantial. It doesn't point to the actual murder. It's all about him kind of just hating Joffrey. But Taina says he put the poison in the wine. Do you know anything about Taina Merryweather? Not a show character, so don't go there.
Are they the people that have the cow-looking castle? Or is that House Dairy?
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
I'm trying to think of like Duncan Egg families.
Butterwell. That's Butterwell. I think you're talking about.
Wherever the book part 3 of Duncan Egg is.
You'll remember this one. Taina Merryweather becomes Cersei's like really close friend.
Yeah.
She's a Tyrell lady, right? She's at all the Marjorie parties and everything.
Yeah, they start gossiping. They gossip to each other.
Cersei and her start getting really close. Cersei starts giving her some secrets. She starts spying on Marjorie for her.
Right.
I think her and Cersei even have some lesbian shit going on where Cersei has like a fantasy where she's being Robert and Taina is her, and she's like just drunk and doing whatever she wants. It's weird.
Oh, gosh.
But basically, at some point later, right before Cersei gets arrested, her and Taina are like besties. And she's like, Tina, you need to bring your son to King's Landing. Tommen needs friends. Your son's his age. And she's like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Like,
yeah.
She's just like making an excuse to keep her kids away from King's Landing. So most people think she's a Marjorie spy from the beginning. So yes, she's spying on Marjorie for Cersei, but she's like actually telling Cersei the only stuff that Marjorie wants her to know. And really she's telling Marjorie everything. I think this is kind of proof of it, right? Because who do we think actually poisoned Joffrey, right? Who knows the truth here, based on what we think?
Littlefinger.
And?
Olenna.
Tyrell. So, any Tyrell could be implicated, right? A lot of people think Garland was the one that actually put the poison in, because he's the one sitting next to Tyrion.
He's right there.
So he could have plopped it from Sansa's hairnet, put it in.
And he put the cup on Sansa's lap, right? Like he basically kind of said that too.
Mace is gung-ho Tyrion's guilty, right? How many times Kevin comes in very early during the trial and is like, yeah, Mace is already sure you're guilty. At the end,
Tyrion's got to be guilty, so Garland's not guilty.
We're the ones that are actually guilty. So there's a chance that Mace again. There's a chance we don't know which Tyrells are in on it, but all the Tyrells, if you assume that they know what actually happened, it makes sense why they act the way they act. They all are acting to kind of implicate Tyrion to clear themselves. So let's take that to Taina. Taina, what if Marjorie's like, yo, you need to be the one that you're not paid, right? A lot of the other witnesses we know were like paid off by Cersei, or we assume were paid off by Cersei. In Feast of Crows, when Cersei meets Taina, she's like, oh, this is the girl that testified against Tyrion that was actually really helpful that I didn't know about before. So she wasn't paid off by Cersei. She just did this.
They just wanted to get
because either she really thinks she saw this, or because the Tyrells were like, this is our perfect opportunity
saw this. Let's get Cersei to trust you.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly.
And now we can get you behind enemy lines.
Yep. So I think
picking up what you're putting down.
I kind of 100% buy that. I have never paid attention to this theory while looking through. So I give him Feast of Crows. Cersei's like, oh, I remember that girl. She's the one I paid to testify. But I don't think it's like that. I'm pretty sure she didn't know. So I think that's interesting. And it proves that the Tyrells are scheming. To me, it proves that Tyrells are scheming harder than we think. Right? Or Taina is acting on her own and she's like very ambitious and smart. And I don't even think that's possible because she would have to know that. And maybe she just wants to be on Cersei's side. It's crazy.
I think the Tyrells are scheming. I believe that they're scheming. So,
last one I had before anything you want to. I actually didn't have Oberyn, but the last one I had is Oberyn says the Mountain doesn't feel pain like a normal man. In later chapters, we hear that the Mountain is like cursed with headaches, like he has really bad migraines, and he drinks milk of the poppy. I think someone says he quaffs milk of the poppy as a normal man quaffs ale. So he literally just like chugs.
And this is before the trial by combat?
Yeah, before all this. He's literally just chugging.
He's just was born a psycho.
Stuff that just knocks. Yeah, he's just like literally getting injected with like anesthesia and walking around like it's nothing. Wow. That's why he doesn't. That's why he doesn't feel pain. It's like those videos of people on like normal. PCP. I feel like I've seen a video of. Is it PCP? Is that the thing that makes you just feel nothing?
It's those kids and there's those people down in Florida that were eating smelling salts and. I
feel like I saw a streaker at a baseball game and he got tased and he just like. You would never have realized he got tased. He was like looking at the cop, like kind of flexing up to the cop. The cop tased him, and he just like took a step forward. And, like you would not. This guy did not get tased. It's like that cop's taser might have been broken, or this guy is on some crazy shit. You know what I mean? Like his muscles aren't even like when you get tased. Like it's not even like a.
Tensing up.
It's like you can't control that.
Don't people like poop them? Don't you poop yourself or did you poop yourself?
Dude. There's something though. That's what the Mountain's on. Yeah. So when Bronn's like, yeah, I'll pass on that. He does have some proof to that.
I thought you were going with like if just like foreshadowing him becoming like not a normal man.
Well, that's a good point too.
Zombie guy. So basically, going into like Oberyn, I think he's foreshadowing a lot, right? And you've kind of mentioned like his tone is kind of weird. The weirdest thing is mentioning that Tywin's gonna die.
Yeah.
Like he poisoned him. Like, he is actively poisoned.
That is a theory that I would 100% believe.
It's happening. It's literally happening right now.
It's why Tywin's on the shitter when he's killed. It's why his body smells really, really bad at the funeral.
Yeah.
And it's why Oberyn's, like, smiling about everything here. I honestly don't doubt that Oberyn poisoned Joffrey, too. That two people poisoned Joffrey.
I don't doubt that he... Oh, you're saying separately?
Like, I kind of was joking around with Kyle, like, oh, if I poisoned somebody and you poisoned somebody and they died, like, I would think I was the one that did it. Like, Oberyn might think he killed Joffrey and is now getting away with it under, like, scot-free because of Tyrion. Like, he might honestly not think Sansa's involved. If they both put, which I think is a possibility.
Yeah, it's a possibility. I don't know if he actually did it, though. Like, he just wants to kill all... I do think this way... I think Oberyn is okay with killing as many Lannisters as possible. So if that means poisoning Joffrey to then at some point poison Tywin and then kill Cersei, whatever it might be, like he's fair. Like any one Lannister is fair game.
Sure.
Like he's got a list and he's knocking them off.
So let me read a little quote from this chapter when Pycelle's going over his poisons, and pay attention if you think anything's weird along the lines of what you're talking about. Greycap, From the Toadstool, Nightshade, Sweet Sleep, Demon's Dance, This is Blind Eye, Widow's Blood this one is called, For the Color, Cruel Potion, it shuts down a man's bladder and bowels until he drowns in his own poison. This is Wolfbane, Here's Basilisk Venom, This one's the Tears of Lys. Yes, I know them all. The imp Tyrion Lannister stole them from my chambers. There's literally only one potion he tells us what it does.
Okay.
He literally just lists them all off. Grey Cap, Night's Shade, Sleep Sweet, Demon's Dance. This is Blind Eye, Widow's Blood. This one's called for its color, a cruel potion. It shuts down a man's bladder and bowels until he drowns in his own poisons.
Yeah, I gotcha.
This is Wolfsbane. Here's Basilisk Venom. This is the Tears of Lys.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for Maester Pycelle to explain it though to the court, other than for us to know that this is what it does,
100%.
so that you can put two and two together.
Exactly.
That Tywin has diarrhea and is
agreed
pooping himself to death.
But this is another thing I think a lot of people point to who believe Oberyn poisoned Tywin.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And again, I think it's interesting because it's one of the things that I don't think we'll ever know.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that we'll probably never know, which is why I think it's also fun to believe that he also poisoned Joffrey. It's fun to believe that, like, if Tyrion and Sansa and Littlefinger wouldn't have gotten involved, both of them would have died anyway, but I'm sure everything would have turned out totally different, right? Like, there's no really point in thinking about it, but, like, it's kind of cool to think about.
The only way I was going to say, and I was like, well, it's not possible because Oberyn's head's about to get smashed in, would be like them about to fight the Long Night and they're doing your favorite scene around the campfire talking about shit and be like, hey, you killed your dad and I was poisoning him the whole time. Like, at some point, if they could be back together, but it's impossible. They can't be. So it has to be
Bran,
like Olenna.
Yeah, Bran or
somebody else that
shit.
knows.
Yeah.
Like Olenna's like, hey, you killed your dad and like, Oberyn was poisoning him for a week. Like, you're an idiot. Like, he would have been dead before you're,
Yeah.
whatever.
And I guess to that, the other thing is the last person that the Oberyn fights is the Mountain, and he poisons him.
Yeah. A lot of poisoning going on there.
Again, it's one of the things that I don't think we'll ever know, but I think George put it in, like, intentionally, like, let's let him wonder just to fuck with us, but... Yeah, so we can cut it there. It's been definitely a long...
One more. Give Glow a shout out just for his sweet. There was one big sweet.
What was
Tell
it?
me your sweet lies. Sweet lies.
Give me the sweet lies instead of the bitter truths. Yeah, good one. I didn't even catch it. A little shout out for Glow. True. But yeah, we've definitely a long chapter. I don't know how short it'll edit down to, but probably close to 2 hours no matter what.
Long workout. Maybe a 2 workouter.
Yeah, piece it up. But we'll see you guys in the next one for Jamie 9. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.